I will ask Mr. Pedro to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so this is the point in our agenda where any member of the public may speak on any item not on the printed agenda. We do have the budget today, right? That's just about everything. Anyway, any member of the public that wishes to speak, please come up and welcome.
Hi, I'll try and be brief, but I have a statement I'd like to read.
Okay.
My name is Andrew Clemo. I'm a resident of Sonora, California. I've studied environmental studies at UC Santa Cruz. I've taken classes in natural studies at natural resources at Columbia College. I'm a member of the Sierra Club and a founding member of the newly formed People's Environmental Network. In 2015, we organized the People's Climate March in Sonora. Our goal was to raise awareness through action about climate change. What I'd like to say today isn't my personal views, doesn't necessarily reflect the views of the group. Our government has known about this problem for at least 38 years. In 1977, James Black, then a scientist working for Exxon, wrote, "There's general scientific agreement that the most likely manner in which mankind is influencing the global climate is through carbon dioxide release from the burning of fossil fuels." In 1990, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a prestigious group of global experts, concluded that global warming was certain. The cause was the unrestrained burning of fossil fuels. In response, Exxon dismantled its research team and began a massive campaign of corporate disinformation aimed at misleading the public in order to protect its bottom line. The truth is that global warming is real, and unless we take action now, it may already be too late. My problem is not just with local representatives, but with government at every level. This year, I am 33, make that 34 years old. I have watched my whole life as our government has consistently failed to take significant, effective actions to deal with this issue of climate change. I'm ready today to testify as a witness to our government's neglect and indeed denial of what I and many others believe to be the most important issue of our time. Scientists tell us we must cut our carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions to a level that will keep the average global temperature from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius, or we will face increasingly severe storm patterns, sea level rise, not to mention issues of national security related to our dependence on foreign oil. In the first weeks of December 2015, the leaders of 144 countries from around the world met in Paris to form a plan to address climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. They signed a historic agreement, which is a powerful symbol of the political will necessary to address this issue. However, this agreement is not legally binding. In 2015, let's just skip that part actually. Ultimately, whether California will succeed or fail to meet the targets set forth by the state. This part has actually changed. I wrote this a while ago. We have we just reached a new historic agreement by California, which I'm encouraged by. My question is, what can we do at the local level? I believe we must have investment in renewable energy and a carbon tax. Okay, I'm encouraged by California's recent legislation, which set targets of 40% below 1990 levels. I'm also encouraged by the reopening of the biofuels plant in Chinese Camp. These are all encouraging signs. However, I believe we need to do more. I come here and I watch you guys talking about building new jails and a new juvenile detention center. And okay, maybe these are two separate issues, but yeah. We need to take action now. What I came here to say is
breathe.
We need to, I'm sorry, I wanted to say something more. Okay, maybe these are two separate issues, right? We need to, you guys are saying we need to build jails and a new juvenile detention center, right? And I understand that maybe these are two separate issues, but we also have an unemployment rate here in Tuolumne County that's through the roof. And I'm wondering, why can't we spend some of our tax dollars to build solar energy and create a program that will create full employment like we had in World War II? And if we embrace this opportunity, then we can get rid of unemployment. We have these targets that were set by the state, but the only way we're going to meet this is by taking local action, by counties across the state taking local action. Now, I myself and those of us who came together to form the People's Environmental Network want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And I look forward to looking for solutions with you and making progress towards our goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Glenn Caldwell. I am president of the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau. My last meeting I attended here was to speak on behalf of the Visitors Bureau, and we're happy to hear that there is no notion that there's going to be any change in the split. On that note, I also want to say to you supervisors that we are really in an era changing time in this county. You're going to be dealing with general plan issues that are generational changes. A lot of staff will be changing in the next couple of years. Okay. A significant change in the leadership at TUD and possibly a board change over there. Okay, this is an era and an opportunity for this board to create influence for a long, long time. And I just rise to remind you that you are not the managers of this county. You are the leaders. You are the chief executives. Okay, so when you find yourself making decisions about pencils and trash cans, put that off and put that off to your executive level people. We have some really big things to do in this county over the next couple of years. And I just want to keep you on track with doing those big things. An example of the TOT compromise is a trial program where the Visitors Bureau will put money into this program for smaller nonprofits or any nonprofit to come to them and get needed funds. Okay, this is a good idea and a small step towards alleviating some of the things that you do that really should be done at other levels. Okay? So as chief executives, keep a focus on the big picture stuff, okay? As you go through some transitions that are happening in the next couple of years, just remember, it's generational decisions that you'll be making, and we support you. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Connie O'Connor, Executive Director of the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance. I'm here this morning to speak on behalf of the Alliance Board of Directors and to request all of your affirmative votes regarding the proposed annual funding of TCAA in the amount of $45,000.
Connie, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's part of the budget. Can you make your comments when we're doing the budget?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll
That's
come
okay.
back. Okay,
I
I'll
don't,
come back.
I just, it's a procedural issue.
Paragraph 2, to
Dear
be
sweetheart,
continued.
thank you very much.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Michael Patterson. I'm an home supportive service provider who take care of elderly and disabled people, and we've been working to improve the program here in the county, and you've been working with us in the past, and I hope you'll continue to work with us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none. Oh, seeing one. Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Harper. I'm a visitor to Tuolumne County.
Well, welcome. We like
you.
visitors.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about me, but this is not about me. Okay? I've had some unusual life experience, which includes scopolamine and hypnosis. So I have absolutely very little memory of my life. But I did go to Sonora Elementary, Twain Hart Elementary, and Longbarn Elementary. So I'm familiar with the area and have evolved and had the opportunity to come back and visit as a park visitor. Last Saturday, I drove in to stay at New Maloney's. We've had kind of an off and on relationship over the years, possibly because I could have an ex that owns part of the Maloney's. I don't know. I have no memory. I have not been able to research any of this or verify any of this because I've been kept very busy every day, spinning everybody else's agenda respectfully. Now, I believe in the government. I believe in our law enforcement. And I sincerely pray that we can evolve and upgrade and consider thinking about 2016 standards and establishing 2016 standards to shape our future for our children, ourselves, from 2016 forward. You have a priceless, one of my bucket lists was to go to Columbia to have my first sarsaparilla, which I thought was an alcohol drink. My church group on the hill here in Sonora took me to the little Jack Douglas Saloon years and years and years ago, and they bought me a sarsaparilla, and I would not drink it because I thought it was alcohol. I was very, very naive, and still am somewhat, but I went back yesterday to have a sarsaparilla at the Jack Douglas Saloon. And it was very busy, and things have evolved, and I just pray that we can upgrade, preserve the 1800s. The Columbia is a show for the 1800s, but our standards don't have to be respectfully 1800s in any county. I've spoken at Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors respectfully. Every human being is a citizen of the United States. If we can think about every human being fitting on the planet as a human being just because they're here with no strings, no conditions, no agendas, we can start thinking about functioning today and our future. If everyone starts talking about establishing 2016, soon to be 2017 standards, stepping into them, we can shed the backpedaling on mistakes that were made over the years. Respectfully, not one human being is perfect, and no one should get stuck with the mistakes that were made over the years. Respectfully, with law enforcement or any government official or any private citizen. I got permission from the camp host and the people in the park, up the chain of command, to stay at New Maloney's because there was some visitors pretending to be camp hosts coming in, and one that actually looked like Dr. Graff from Stockton Crisis Center, which is interesting because they put me on a phony false 72-hour hold in Ripon when I requested police reports to attach an addendum, accurate information to those police reports. So I was very diligent and pleasant in evolving through going into this campground on Saturday, giving everybody good faith that everything would be fine. I did Sabbath from Saturday through Sunday night. Saturday night, there were a lot of people partying, doing drugs, doing noise, and that's the typical, campground lack of boundaries. No boundaries were set on these people. But I ignored it because I was resting and in prayer and did my thing. So yesterday, before I tried to add a new day to stay for the 3-day weekend so I could go to, walk around town and putz around the area and just enjoy Sonora and Columbia, I got permission from the Camp Coast, who got authority from the ranger to stay. So I went and plucked my little $11 in for the next night, left my campsite tidy and peacefully, and so I went to Columbia, had that sarsaparilla, was tickled, went back to the campsite, 2 sheriff's deputies, one from Tuolumne County and one from San Andreas County, followed me into the campsite. I say this respectfully. My heart sank. Okay. James Gregg had B. Hill from San Andreas in there, and he just reamed me, verbally reamed me. And I'm like, I'm peacefully camping. I got permission to be here. Well, you have to pitch your tent and leave. I'm like, you have to put your tent down and leave. And I'm like, okay. So they had called, I said, I got permission to be here. So I had them call the ranger. Now, the federal rangers are different than the state rangers. We have a whole political system in our park system from ranger to ranger to ranger. And Campsite 3 on Saturday bailed out of their campsite a day early, doing a lot of drama, saying that they were doors to something. And I have no concept of ambiguity. I don't process ambiguity, never have, never will be able to. And we have a completely ambiguous functioning level that's dysfunctional, totally preempting all the functioning levels in our private, public, and government, respectfully. So if we can eliminate the ambiguity, speak clearly. So they bailed. Evidently, they were a door to my being there in the park, and I have no clue what that means. And I didn't meet their requirements or expectations, so they bailed early. There were 2 campsites, 15 and 18, that were all connected to them, making the noise and doing the weird things. So they just kind of shut down, and nobody was communicative. And so when the sheriff showed up, I was pretty surprised, because here in the federal parks, you call the sheriff's deputies. Well, again, it's political. Nothing is perfect. James Gregg talked to me as if I was subhuman, berated me, publicly humiliated me. And I peacefully tried to navigate. My letters, I write letters, and I speak at meetings in an effort to diffuse, bridge, and stabilize. Now I have been diffusing and bridging and stabilizing with park employees over at New Maloney's. And each time that they make a bad decision, they bring in the sheriff's department, which gives me a bad reputation. I was peacefully functioning. I was shut down. Everyone else in the park doing drugs were able to function and party hardy, and I, as a peaceful person doing Sabbath, looking forward to putzing around the town, enjoying the community, was unable to function. I was publicly humiliated, degraded. I spoke very, 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 very forthright. I sincerely talk to people. I speak clearly and peacefully. I disagreed. This deputy was kicking me in the gut. I have some very serious physical neglected symptoms, and when people publicly humiliate me and aggravate every physical symptom in my body, I have to be in prayer and try to speak. I spoke very clearly. I said, anyone that can allow drugs, noise, and everything unchecked and can single out the peaceful person that was up there to do Sabbath and rest is corrupt, respectfully. And I pray that we can evolve. Okay? That's a form of corruption people don't think about. But it erodes our public venues. It erodes our citizens in the counties involved. And it's widespread. It's not just here. And I'm not criticizing James Graff as a human being, but I was very straightforward because peaceful people should be able to function throughout these communities in every area. Now, if we establish 2016 standards, if everybody starts talking about 2016 standards and shaping our future, like it's not necessary. Oh, the families didn't like this. It's like, I'm not here for the families. I'm here to mind my own business, and they need to mind their own business, which is what I told multiple people. Now, the catch... there's
Ma'am, can I ask you to wrap up, please?
Okay, sure. There's a... I'm not sure of the time limit. How much?
Well, we're already over the 15 minutes that we normally allot to public comment. And
Okay.
I think we get the gist of your comments, and we appreciate them very much. Just,
May I wrap?
yep.
Okay, William Brown is what used to be in charge of the Maloney's federal campgrounds, and he also has family in Turlock. Multiple bad things happened at 306 Castile Lane, Turlock, California. They're neighbors, and I tried to shop at Walmart last night, and I had 2 young people who turned out to be teenagers call the police on me while I'm peacefully trying to shop, and guaranteed they're both connected to the Browns interlock. The whole issue is to diffuse. The whole point is not issue. The whole point is to diffuse, bridge, and stabilize. These teenagers generated another police report on me, which is what they used to put a false hold on me in Ripon. You know, mental health, you have to have mental health symptoms, not law enforcement agenda, respectfully. So we can stabilize out of that in every county. And teenagers shouldn't be able to make false accusations and generate a police report on a peaceful citizen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Now will the clerk of the board read the consent agenda?
Minutes of the meeting held on August 16th and 19th, 2016, finding that a summary of ordinance number 3300 was published, approving amendments to conflict of interest codes for Soulsbyville School District and Tuolumne County Superintendent's of School Office, adopt a resolution approving the 2016-17 Tuolumne County tax rates, appointing a special district member in lieu of an election, approving modification to the Federal Highway Administration Federal Land Highway Agreement for reimbursement of the utility relocation costs associated with the construction of Buchanan Road project to extend the deadline for completion, accept a notice of completion for the signalization of Tuolumne Road and Standard Road project, awarding a maintenance contract to St. Francis Electric LLC for the work as described in a bid for Tuolumne County Road Traffic Signal Maintenance 2016, adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the California Department of Social Services and Tuolumne County Department of Social Services to allow access to treatment outcome package assessment tool for assessing youth in out-of-home care, approving a grant agreement between the Sheriff's Office and the Boat and Waterways for a new boat patrol and trailer, recognizing unanticipated revenue in the amount of $90,000 in the boat patrol state account and increase in appropriations in the boat patrol vehicle account in the same amount. Approve the reappointment of Margie Bulkin to the first 5 Tuolumne County Commission and the reappointment of Dick Southern to the Area 12 Agency on Aging, and accepting the resignation of Alice Caldera from the Carter Cemetery District, and directing the clerk to send a letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy.
Okay, any public comment on any item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent calendar.
Thank you, Supervisor Gray.
Second.
And thank you, Supervisor Brennan. So with the motion and the second, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Will the clerk of the board please read item 14?
Consideration of adopting a resolution proclaiming September 2016 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Good morning.
Hello.
So, families, caregivers, charities, and research groups across the United States observe September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. As most cancers occur in people over the age of 50, it is commonly overlooked that young people also are affected by this disease. Cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among children between the ages of 5 and 15 in this country. And Tuolumne County has had 9 cancer diagnoses in that age group between 2008 and 2012. Treatment is fraught with many difficult procedures and can have long-term consequences, including secondary cancers. A number of organizations and government leaders have recognized September as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in hopes of bringing attention to the types of cancer that largely affect children, issues survivors may encounter, and raise awareness among communities all year. It is respectfully recommended that the Board of Supervisors adopt the attached resolution proclaiming September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Okay, any questions of the staff? Any public comment? Bring it back to the board for any comments or a motion.
Just would like to thank you for bringing this to our attention, and I would move that we adopt the resolution and proclaim September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Brennan, and thank you, Supervisor Hanvelt, for the second. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15, please.
Consideration of adopting a resolution proclaiming September 5th through 11th, 2016 as Suicide Prevention Week.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Christy Conforti. I'm the Mental Health Services Act Coordinator for Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Department. I'm here today on behalf of Behavioral Health as well as the Tuolumne County Suicide Prevention Task Force to ask you to proclaim the week of September 5th through the 12th as Suicide Prevention Week in Tuolumne County. Today, I am joined by the family of Joshua Dittler. They will be talking about how suicide has affected their family and what they are doing to help others. I'm going to pass out some information they wanted you guys to have as well.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Guy Holmes. We're here today because we have each been through the death by suicide of one of our loved ones. For Kathy, her daughter Jody, and husband Robert, that loss was and still is very painful. And even though Joshua was not my biological grandson, I have known him since he was 4 years old and will know and feel his loss the rest of my life. The 4 of us did not even realize that Tuolumne County had a committee for suicide awareness and prevention until we lost our Joshua in July of 2007. While being concerned and having compassion for everyone who suffers such a loss, we probably would not have considered coming before you like this prior to his death. Our involvement would have most likely ended with a statement like, "How sad," or "What a shame." We would still have been led by our old thoughts and beliefs about suicide. With Joshua's death, all of that has changed. Today we have a sincere hope that everyone, whether a loved one or a stranger, realizes that any loss reserves the right to grieve without judgment. It is the first step towards wiping out the myth that suicide is unspeakable, which can lead to a new awareness of and hopefully increased prevention of suicide. Why are we here? A support group of survivors of suicide loss speaking to the County Board of Supervisors when this is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month, not Survivors Month. Awareness and prevention are the very activities that are meant to reduce and hopefully will one day remove the need for such a group. We have been both actively and passively involved over the past soon-to-be 10 years. We have seen progress and a lack of it. We have received both from county offices and organizations and from some professionals who are also family friends, encouragement and very wise guidance in maintaining our ability to keep moving forward. We are very grateful to be a part of this. Otherwise, we would be on our own journey towards spending 25 years carrying our family secret. 25 years is a long time to unnecessarily carry such a burden. We thank you for inviting us today. Our last group meeting was held on August 23rd. A new lady attended that session. After 25 years of carrying her family secrets, she noticed in the Union Democrat a small excerpt of an article published in last week's Tuolumne County Behavioral Health newsletter about a suicide survivors group. She had lost her father to suicide death 25 years ago, almost to the day that she came to group. 25 years of carrying that painful secret, anger, guilt, fear, and shame. Anger that he had cheated her out of a reason for his choice, which had left her to carry on without his encouragement and support. Guilt that she did not know the why of his choice, yet felt so strongly that she should have been aware that something was not right with him. Then she would have been able to do something to help him. Guilt and shame that apparently she had not been enough for him to live for. What should she have done differently that would have made a difference? Fear that she would not fit in with others who grieve their losses in church groups or mental health groups because everyone else there knows why their loved one had passed. What would she say? Shame that she had no one to talk to about the way he had chosen to end his life. Shame that she did not have answers for when friends, loved ones, and even strangers asked her why. She came into the group session full of anxiety, cried during the process, then unexpectedly dared to laugh when she identified with someone else's irrational thought process concerning the loss of their loved one as a result of suicide. She left the session with a sense of hope. Hope that she had finally met others who really understood her loss and how it changed her life. Hope that she could actually learn to live the rest of her life in a new normal. For the rest of us in the group that night, we actually felt blessed that we were being allowed into this woman's life, into her heart, and into her very soul. And while there for a brief hour and a half, we were able to share not only our own loss, grief, and pain, but also our strengthened faith in our God, our realized hope that life was not over, our strength to step into life again in our new normal, and our joy in being able to watch someone else take these first steps. So, while we would like nothing better, we are not here believing that committees such as this will ever bring an end to suicide. Groups such as ours are most likely to are going to be needed well beyond our lifetimes. Rather, we are here to encourage the County Committee on Suicide Awareness and Prevention to perhaps place an increased emphasis on the educational aspect of awareness and prevention, with an objective to destigmatize mental health issues overall, but especially suicide. For this and the next several years to come, here are a few issues that have come up in our group sessions going all the way back to when the group was held at Dawn's Light in 2007. There are nearly 5 Californians reporting a need for help for a mental or emotional health problem. That's approximately 4.9 million out of 37 million plus people living in this state. In this county, with its high rate of youth suicide, exactly how much time and effort and in what courses is that time and effort spent in our schools to teach their normality rather than the difference, those people mentality of mental illness? While it is commonly stated in the entertainment and social media venues that a person choosing death by suicide believes everyone will be better off without me, or I'm not hurting anyone but myself, or no one's going to miss me anyway, when in actuality, each suicide touches as many as 20 other lives when doctors, teachers, ministers, police, friends, and neighbors are added up. This isn't even counting the immediate family, who are affected the most severely and for the longest time, the rest of their lives. In regards to the county coroner staff, the police, the fire and sheriff's departments, our school boards and teachers, the county mental health and behavioral health departments, the county welfare departments, the EMTs and first responders, do they receive annual training in the discussion, the documentation, and the reporting of death associated with mental health, especially suicide? Are they being taught to consider how their language can have a stigmatizing impact on people living with a mental issue who are reading or hearing or are in any way directly affected by their report? The death of a loved one by suicide is an extremely sensitive matter, and in fact can be a very private matter for the family involved. Even so, if doctors and medical staff annually received training to encourage more honesty and openness by the surviving family members, a huge brick would be removed from the wall of public stigma around this topic. Think of the impact such openness could have on someone considering death by suicide. Thoughts such as, I had no idea how many people I would hurt, or I didn't even consider that I could ask for help, or I don't want to leave them like this. These thoughts are sure to come to mind and just might change a few minds. We commend the Tuolumne County effort towards awareness and prevention of death by suicide. A lot has been done, yet the barrier still exists. Awareness and prevention is so much more than the reporting of numbers, ages, and categories of loss by suicide. It is learning that it can be discussed openly, that the human mind is capable of making other choices, that nothing is forever except death. And for each person who learns these things, someone must teach over and over again. Once again, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you.
Special thank you to Guy and Kathy and Jody for coming today. The national theme for this year is suicide prevention. It's everybody's business. When someone dies by suicide, it affects the entire community, not just the family and the friends and the neighbors, but in a small town like ours, it affects everybody. The questions of why or what if will never be answered, but each and every one of us should be asking ourselves what we can do to prevent suicide in our community. We respectfully ask the Board of Supervisors to adopt the resolution proclaiming the week of September 5th through the 12th as Suicide Prevention Week in Tuolumne County.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Public comment?
Thank you. I feel honored and just privileged to be here at this moment. This was not planned. This is priceless. Mental health is not a stigma. Mental health is a part of a physical process, mental process, aging process. We all, not one thing is perfect. I had the privilege to work for the VA Medical Center, San Diego, in La Jolla. Dr. Igor Grant was in charge of the outpatient mental health clinic and their alcohol treatment program. 2 residents. One was Dr. Alan Peters, who is now Tuolumne County's Director of Mental Health. Mental health is not a stigma. If we can also upgrade and establish standards and talk with mental health, we can avoid suicide. If we can upgrade our standards, suicide can be avoided. The stigma can be shed also with the mistakes that have been made over the years. We can treat each other like human beings and act like human beings and stabilize in a healthy manner and thrive throughout every county in the USA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back. Any other public comment? Bring it back to the board.
So just a quick comment, because this is a very difficult subject, and having children that knew the Dittler family were in school, I would say that suggesting that 20 people are affected by this is a gross understatement, and I know what it did to the entire school community, and so this is something that we need to be able to talk about. And the other handout that we received was about the support groups. Can you tell us when those meet and where individuals can get information?
Right. Guy and Kathy run that group, and they meet at the Blue House? The Bluebell House, right by Sierra Bible Church. And they meet twice a month. I think it's on there every
The second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
of each month. And we have those flyers available to anyone who needs them. We have them posted on Facebook. They're all over the community and all the county agencies. And I can provide information to anybody interested in getting contact with Guy and Kathy.
That's great. And for benefit of the public that might be watching, there's a contact number. Can I go ahead and say that is for Mr. Holmes at 559-0332.
Okay. Did Supervisor Handbelt?
Yeah, I want to say thank you as the family that got up and spoke. This is an important issue, and a lot of times it seems distant if it hadn't hit you close. My bride's foster sister, we lost her by suicide, and I think Supervisor Brennan said 20 people, a lot more than 20. And it's not just immediate family, it's well beyond that. And often these people have so much going for them, and in this case, she did. And yet, depression or whatever it was that drove her to that solution hurt a lot of people. So I appreciate that you're bringing this forward, and you know, it's a shame that we do it for a week. This needs to be in the forefront because we lose a lot of valuable people, and we hurt a lot of lives because we aren't paying attention. And it behooves us all to pay attention to the people around us. And I don't know that I would have predicted in Heidi's case that she was going to do this. But we need to show people we care. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments by supervisors? Board?
Just quickly, I also want to thank the family for being here and for your strength, for sharing your story. And I knew Josh. He was a really good friend of my brother. And he used to spend the night at our house when I was a kid. So I have a lot of memories. And I just, like I said, thank you for being here.
Okay.
And Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion unless...
Be my guest.
But I would be remiss in not thanking our county staff that are working on this issue very diligently. And it's a difficult subject, but we appreciate all of your efforts also. So with that, I would move that we proclaim September 5th through September 11th as Suicide Prevention Week in Tuolumne County.
Second.
Okay, I've got a Supervisor Brennan motion and a second by Supervisor Handbelt. This is a very important issue that deserves all of our attention, has been said. And I want to thank you for bringing it to us, and I also want to thank the family for sharing a very difficult life experience. And with that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And will the clerk of the board read our, it must be 9 o'clock, our 9 o'clock appointment?
This is a public hearing to consider adopting all budget actions contained in the fiscal year 2016-17 budget document, including the personnel recommendations, capital and informational technology project list, the appropriation computation method and limit, fiscal year 2016-17 adopted budget resolution, and cancellation of prior year general fund reserves in the amount of $670,495.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. I will have some further comments on the public hearing process after the staff report. So with that, Mr. Pedro.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it seems like this is a never-ending process, our county budget. To Mr. Codwell's point, this is one of the most important things your board does. You're looking at allocating nearly $200 million dollars in resources for the future. But just by way of review for the public that maybe this is new, our budget process started in January with our board retreat. We've had presentations on some priorities that came out of that retreat. We've looked at our 5-year forecast, both a baseline and a modified version of a 5-year forecast, priority areas within the county, and then obtain direction from your board on how to prepare a recommended budget with some early runs in late May, again in June, and then adopted your recommended budget on June 21st of this year. Again, for those that aren't familiar with it, we do a two-step process in county government. Usually in developing a budget, we do a recommended budget as a first step, and then we pause, get our fund balances, see what the state and federal government may have done, because we're driven so heavily by state and federal revenues and program requirements, and then we repackage for a hearing such as we're having today. Would remind the board and for the public that we did have kind of a dry run looking at some of the priority areas with your board on August 16 to get some general direction of how to transition the recommended budget into a final budget document. And the document that's before you incorporates that direction. So I'm just going to pick up on page 2, bottom of page 2 of the memo, mentioning that our fund balance is an important adjustment to the budget. And if you include our public power agency, we have about $5.3 million increase in our fund balances. Without it, it's closer to a $4.2 million increase in our fund balances. A lot of that has to do with our capital funds, and also just some general savings within our health, social service, and behavioral health funds. There's some major rebudgeting that's occurring in our law and justice projects. On the top of page 3, the roadway and utility projects that your board just recently awarded, getting off to a later start than originally planned. The new jail, again, just shifting some of the costs intended for design, rebudgeting that to a new year, as well as the juvenile detention facility, which also had been prolonged, so we're seeing more of that expense in this current fiscal year versus last fiscal year. At your August meeting, we talked a lot about some positions, and the bottom of page 3, many of those are listed. Another very important point that's been made, already addressed by one of the speakers, was that staff was sent off with the direction to work with representatives from the Visitor Bureau, the city, and the county to try and reach a consensus on the TOT matter, and we did indeed do so. And that's made up of 3 main points. One, per direction of County Council, that a new agreement amongst the city, county, and the Visitors Bureau will need to be drafted to incorporate all of the TOT dollars that are collected. We are reminded that the original agreement only covered the increase from 6 to 8%, and in 2010 that was increased from 8 to 10%, but that agreement did not cover that. So a new agreement is indeed necessary. Second, the Visitors Bureau intends to implement a new trial marketing program, again alluded to earlier by one of your speakers. And then lastly, that the county would restore the full funding for the Visitor Bureau in accordance with existing TOT allocation policy, and that's simply 25% of all TOT that's collected in the county would go to the Visitors Bureau. So that's a restoration of about $122,000 from when we last looked at this budget. On the top of page 4, it talks about some one-time cost additions. Some paving projects, particularly important to the board, were Parrots Ferry and Yankee Hill Road, in a combination of $125,000 in additional general fund dollars, and also reallocation of some funds within your road construction fund itself. Funding for both of those projects are incorporated. We've also increased funding for search and rescue equipment. There was $7,000 that's already in the budget. We've added $8,000. That brings it to $15,000. That's the highest allocation in the last several years. I know there's still interest in additional funds, and we're confident that there's grant funds that are available to secure additional funding yet. The Forest Service grant related to tree mortality has been added into this budget. That was roughly was $700,000 was the assumed revenue, with $700,000 in assumed offsetting expense. There's also a regard to the Sheriff's Dispatch Center, some aerial updates in coordination with our GIS department. there's offsetting revenue and expense of about $60,000, and that will address one of the high priority areas of the Sheriff's Department. And we've also been able to increase our general fund contingencies to a total of just above $1.2 million. That's broken up about $1 million, not about $1 million of pure contingencies, and the balance for bargaining set-asides. I think we already talked about some of the major changes and can just be ready to respond to any of your board questions. But on page 5, I wanted to point out a couple things in your major budget policies. For number 1 is we're to balance our annual operating budgets without the use of one-time revenues, and I'm just saying in here bluntly that this does not comply. The general fund's use of one-time revenues to support ongoing expenses is nearly 2% of the total budget. We've done this different ways over the years. In the last several years, we tried to not spend any one-time money for ongoing expense. Direction this year was, and I think we talked about it last year as well, was using up to 1% of one-time money to support ongoing expense. And this year's is just under 2%. A concern, but we've done this kind of thing before. It's just a big caution not to use one-time money in a big way to support ongoing expenses. I would also point out your policy number 4. I know there's been a lot of concern about this. We have a policy to establish our general reserves at 5% of our general governmental budgets, and again, we do not comply in this area. Not only should we be increasing our general reserves, but because of the tree mortality program that we've set forth, we only have about 2.3 in our general reserve as we sit here today. But based on estimates of what we can get accomplished this year, we will spend about $670,000 of the using general reserve to the tune of about $670,000 to support our 25% match of the CDAA-funded tree mortality program. And if we can't find some way to get federal participation in this, we could end up depleting our general reserve of the county within the next 2 to 3 years. And just to note that your board has done all the right things, contacting state and federal officials. We've done that through letters. I know members of our state task force, I'm looking at Supervisors Hanvelt and Brennan, have been kind of pounding the issue at the state level. If we can do that, it'll drop our share of costs from 25% of the CDAA program to 6.25%, which would greatly protect our reserve. How do we build that up in the future? It's just trying to spend less and try to direct some of our one-time monies per our policies to build up those reserves. But that's a significant area of concern shared by all. But I would state again that a general reserve is there for a couple primary reasons. One is for cash flow, and the other is to respond to emergencies, and that's exactly what we're doing, responding to the tree mortality crisis. Also just wanted to note in your priority number 6, our policy number 6, prioritize funding for public safety and road maintenance. This is just pointing out that your board has been taking a lot of your discretionary revenue and putting it towards public safety and putting it towards roads, but particularly in the area of roads, with the decline that we've talked about for the last several years in state and federal funding sources for road maintenance, we are really falling behind in the area of road maintenance. But it's not just Tuolumne County, it's every county in the state, and it's across the U.S., and some type of comprehensive reform is necessary, and your board has been all over that issue as well, doing everything that you can at this level. We need state and federal resolutions to that problem. So I just wanted to point out those 3 areas amongst your big policies. I know you're aware of it, but I just feel a responsibility to point those out. Moving on to page 7, and the personnel actions. These are actions that are contained in this document that go beyond what was in the recommended budget. Again, there's the addition of a code compliance investigator and an IT manager. Those were discussed early on in our process. Just for your board's information, recruitments have been completed on both of those per prior direction to move forward with the recruitments pending funding, and they are prepared both CRA and IT are prepared to go ahead and extend offers if your board puts funding for those positions or approves the funding for the positions. I don't know that you want me to go through all these different things, but that additional building inspector, keeping that in there to keep our building trades moving forward. The changes to juvenile, there's some grant funds related to the district attorney's office. One thing of note, there was a GIS analyst that was going to retire and chose not to retire, so we put that position back in. And then there's a number of positions in behavioral health and also social services that comprise the majority of these other changes. If you look at the bottom of the chart on page 8, we do have something that's new, a conversion of a sheriff corporal to a sheriff sergeant at the request of the sheriff's office. There is a planned upgrade of a position, cadastral GIS technician, to a senior technician in the assessor's office. At the direction of the board, did talk with the assessor recorder, and he committed some additional ongoing funding and ongoing expenditure savings, to cover that. I think those are the big, highlights that I would make. We restated your technology project list. We've updated your capital projects list, and I would want to extend personal thanks for your auditor controller helping me through the capital budget, because that's complex. When you have big projects over multiple years, it's really important that we be together, on those to make sure we don't make, errors. General fund contingencies, I've already mentioned what we've done there. There is a chart at the top of page 9 that talks about how are we doing as far as the application of one-time dollars. There's roughly $4.2 million in one-time dollars that are part of the general fund budget. Just about 2.9 is definitely being directed towards one-time things, and about 1.3 million is directed towards ongoing types of things. And again, that's that 1.3 million. If you divide that up amongst the general fund budget, that represents about 1.88% of your operating budget for the general fund. I have put on the dais something we promised we'd do for you is I call them decision packages for lack of a better term, but some alternatives that you could consider to fund some things that aren't in the budget today, but let me talk about those. First, there is some optimism that's out there that perhaps even beyond the already increased TOT revenue projections, that there could be even more. That could be, but I don't think anyone sitting at this table or the treasurer tax collector be ready to say, yes, let's go do this right now. I think if we're going to even consider it, we should wait until the mid-year point to see how the revenue is really coming in this year, but nevertheless, I'm highlighting that. Some expense reductions, but we could choose not to fund the road paving projects for Yankee Hill, Parrots Ferry. I think that would be foolish. We've got all but the $125,000 that's necessary from the general fund. But just to put it there, you could choose not to fund the code compliance investigator, the IT manager, choose not to restore the building inspector. You could look into some of your discretionary items such as the Arts Alliance, the Motherlode Fair. But I know these are areas that your board has discussed in the past and have been fairly settled. But again, something that your board could consider. Some one-time uses that are not in the budget. I know there's been a request made through CRA to purchase a radar sign trailer because there's been an increased request for that type of trailer to get people to slow down in certain areas of the county. Sheriff's Department would like to put mobile data computers into their patrol vehicles. Large sum there. There's a desire to increase our growth impact fee mitigation study. So it costs money to do that. We've talked about there's other code compliance abatements that we anticipate being needed to be done this year. Just putting a number at it is on that page. We could always pull that out of contingencies when needed. Just in anticipation of this year, in the area of consultants, both water and biologists, there's only $25,000 in the CAO's budget for that activity right now. I could foresee, depending upon direction of the board, of what work you'd like to see done, that could be upwards to $100,000 total. But again, we could address that through contingencies when we get to it, actually approving scopes of work. Tuolumne Pool resurfacing, mentioned that's something that we anticipate the cost may come in higher than what we originally budgeted, but we'll soon have those bids and could address that at that time through contingencies. I know that the chair and others have mentioned, shouldn't we consider increasing the transfers for the jail to minimize borrowing for that project and other law and justice projects? We could. But again, you have a pretty thin contingencies as it is. We can increase pure contingencies. We could also restore general reserves if we can find some additional money. And some ongoing expense could be additional set-asides for bargaining and also additional funding for search and rescue. I put a number of 10,000 there that, coupled with what we've already done, that'd be 25,000, in total. So those are just some things that you could chew on, and you've asked for that kind of a list in the past, so I'm providing it. So, Mr. Chairman, that would end my presentation. You can see what the recommendation would be if you were to approve this budget as it is, but anticipate that there'd be changes. And what we typically do is try to have this hearing in the morning, so if there's any changes, there could be work done and have those materials brought back for final form and approval in the afternoon. And with that, I will cease my formal presentation.
Okay. Let's do questions of staff, and then I'll open up for the public hearing, comments from the public, and then we'll come back for any final directions to staff. Did you want to start there, Supervisor Hanvelt?
Yeah, a couple of things. First, on the reserve issue, I think it would be crazy and foolish. It would be unrealistic for us to depend on a federal declaration. We have not made any progress on that, and I frankly don't think it's going to come. And given that situation, we're using reserves to deal with tree mortality. The original estimate was that we had a $9 million problem on county-maintained roads. But the trees continue to die, and that problem increases. We're going to run out of money before we run out of problem there, and I'm very concerned about making commitments and then not being able to deal with something that's a public safety issue of that magnitude. That doesn't mean we don't keep trying. And not only we understated the problem because we did a snapshot in time on that problem, and the problem continues to grow, we still have a large number of public roads that are not in the county-maintained system, and I know that's private, but there's still emergency access and egress, and we're going to need to deal with that when we have that emergency, if we can't deal with it before. So there's too many uncertainties associated with the tree mortality thing, and we know, based on previous experience in Colorado, that problem is going to go on for a very long time, or is likely to go on for a very long time. So I'm just reluctant. I'm reluctant not to reserve as much as we are capable of until we know we're past that issue. And who knows what other issue may be coming up. So reserves are really important to me personally. There are the things about the primal scream, as Supervisor Rotifer called it, in terms of the IT thing. That's killing us, killing our people. And so I think we need to get our IT system fixed. That makes our people more efficient, and it makes their jobs easier. So I think while we have to do that, I am reluctant to add anything in personnel issues and take personnel actions when we have just had a long discussion over our class and comp study, and we've made some steps in that direction to do things. We owe our employees some reasonable attempt to do things, and I think the board is largely committed to that. And if we're doing all these other little additions that I think are nice to have but aren't absolutely essential, I'm bothered by that. I think we need to take care of the general employees first, and because if we don't and we run out of money, we're going to start making cuts because that's all we can do. and that's not the right thing to do. That hurts the public too. And finally, I want to make a comment. One of these positions, I understand that we're talking about giving a promotion to, is a part-time employee, 0.8 FTE. And I'm not going to point it out specifically, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Absolutely no sense at all. Make them a full-time employee if we need more out of them. But if they're a part-time employee, they can't possibly be doing the job of a higher-level employee. They got to be a full-time employee. So I'm just opposed to that as a general principle. And I have lots of things here that I'm concerned about how we pick and choose, but I don't think we can afford to do everything that's proposed here.
Supervisor Gray.
Mr. Chairman, just on a comment Supervisor Hanvelt made on the employees that are nice to have. I don't know which ones those are. You know, as we look at the list, I think through our earlier process, we were looking at these employees like the building inspector as ones that we need to have to make things work. So do we have a list of nice to have and ones that are...
That's what we're making.
We got to make cuts.
So
that's what we get.
Anyway, that's just a comment. I think I also want to agree that we have to look at that reserve end of it as much as possible, but then we also don't want to close our door of doing business too. So it's a tough decision.
Okay. Any other board before I go ahead, Supervisor Brennan.
So I just echo Supervisor Hanfeld's comments on the tree mortality. I do not believe that we will see a federal declaration as hard as we are working towards that, and actually have seen the state engage in that through the tree mortality task force. We did see in the governor's budget, of course, a higher allocation for grants for dealing with tree mortality, but this is going to be ongoing for a couple of years. It is a disaster, state disaster, and so I think it is going to be very important that we realize that we are going to have a substantial threshold that we're going to have to meet in order to mitigate this disaster in Tuolumne County. The other question I have is with regards to search and rescue, and I did meet with the undersheriff, Sheriff Pooley, and we discussed the allocation, and I know that there was an original ask of $42,000. It came down to the low 30s, and at that time you felt that that was meeting more of the essential needs as opposed to some of the other pieces that would be nice to have. But I know there were some very essential pieces in there with helmets and ropes and things like that that were really reflective of safety. And so I'm curious, again, I think we need to go after all of these potential grant opportunities. I know they have some fundraising that they're going to be doing on their own, but I was of the impression that kind of $20,000 was a minimum threshold to get those safety items kind of guaranteed. So I guess I'm asking that question of the sheriff or the undersheriff.
Thank you, Supervisor. To answer that question, to get that done this year, the answer would be yes. That would be the minimum.
20,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we've got 15.
And we have 15.
Okay. I'll go ahead and just make my comments. I want to echo the importance of the reserves and getting that back up. I think any additional TOT revenue ought to go straight into the reserve fund and recapitalize that. I mean, if it's huge, we can talk. But personally, I think we need to be thinking about recapitalizing that. Am I really in some kind of a crisis concern mode with the level that it's at, no. But I think that recognizing that we're on potentially a 5 to 10 year struggle with the tree mortality issue, I think that we need to abate the drawdown of that reserve. And we don't know what else could come out there. I haven't even completed 4 years yet, and I'm already on my third emergency. So I think we just need to err on the side of caution on that. As far as the expense reductions that you've got listed here, certainly the first four, I think we've already pretty much determined that those are very high priority things, and I would be opposed to reducing any of those first four. We can talk about the last two. Hopefully we've got people in the audience that are here to advocate for those. Okay. And then I think that on the use list, we got to figure out a way, either department heads or the department heads and the board and the CAO's office has to figure out a way to do that, either out of hide or out of contingencies. I'm really not, those aren't things that I'm willing to trade off against anything else that's in there, with some exceptions that I'm going to talk about here in a second. I do want to remind everybody, and that means the public, that means our employees, we are trying to juggle several balls here at once, okay? And most of them are very, very expensive balls, and some of them, every now and then the state throws in a new ball while we're trying to keep the ones we've already got airborne. I want to remind people that we are building a new jail, okay? We do not yet have all the money that we need to build that jail. We need to find some of that money. We are proceeding with a commitment to our employees to better compensate them with respect to the results that we got from the wage and compensation study. That is not a cheap venture. We are dealing with tree mortality. That also is not an inexpensive venture as well. We have some things that we would like to do that is going to improve the employees' work environment. And those are important things to do too. We don't just want to compensate you well, but we also want to make an environment where you can maximize your productivity. And we can maximize, as a government, our services to the community. All of those have to be balanced. We can't put all of the eggs in any one basket, or we're never going to get all of the things that we need to do done. With that in mind, I'll just leave that. I do have a couple questions for you, Mr. Pedro. First of all, the last time we were here, Ms. Shane got up and mentioned 2 additional ads. One of them I could find in your list, and that is the admin position in CRA. The other one was a solid waste engineer. No, you're shaking your head. Am I wrong?
I thought it was there.
Yeah, well, I don't see it in the list.
There was a promotion of an engineer.
That was also mentioned. I saw that.
There was not an additional engineer.
In solid waste?
No.
The comment was made that that would come out of the solid waste fund. I distinctly remember that.
There's some funding, and maybe Ms. Shane can get up in the details, that solid waste would share in, but it's just a portion of the cost.
Okay, I need some clarification on that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Services Director. The solid waste funding was to convert an existing part-time relief administrative assistant position to a full-time permanent position. That's already partially funded by the general fund, and this position would do a lot of clerical work for solid waste. So that was where the solid waste funding came from. The engineer is a current engineer in our engineering division, and so just a promotion.
I understood that. Okay. With respect to the solid waste fund, I I'm a little bit concerned. We have a debt service in that fund,
Yes.
and our constituents are paying an additional assessment on their solid waste drop-off until that debt service is satisfied. I am not interested in taking money out of the solid waste fund to increase manpower until that debt service is satisfied. That's just my comment. Okay? Anybody else have any comments before I open it up? Okay, this is a public hearing. We're supposed to do pros, cons, and neutrals? No? Okay, open comment then. Okay, I was wrong. So, any member of the public may come forward and speak on the proposed budget actions. Welcome back, Connie.
Once again, with feeling. Yeah.
With feeling. I love it.
Connie O'Connor, Executive Director of the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance. So, continuing where we left off a little while ago, I am here this morning to speak on behalf of the Arts Alliance Board of Directors, some of whom are here today, and to request all of your affirmative votes regarding the proposed annual funding. I think this is the fourth time around, right? In the amount of $45,000. First of all, I really want to convey our thanks to all of you for making this really critical and important funding to us available for these past few years in order to help fulfill our mission. The Tuolumne County Arts Education Program, in partnership with the Tuolumne County Office of Education, serves 4,000 students annually. The artist community of approximately 400 working artists, performers, actors, photographers, and other support personnel and businesses in Tuolumne County. And they are represented through many different exposures, providing not only arts and education, but artistic experiences, programs, events for visitors and residents, which includes many hundreds and into the thousands of spectators and buyers of art at our curated exhibitions and events. For example, more than 1,200 people attended the Animalscapes show that we put on last March at the Black Oak Hotel. The above is in addition to the existing array of arts and cultural events that we provide through our existing service agreement between the County Board of Supervisors and TCAA. Statistics and numbers associated with these programs are reported on a quarterly basis to the county administration, demonstrating our working relationship with the board, as well as the county recreation department, the county library, and other community outreach events and opportunities. Up on the hill on the Dome campus, the Casa Dance Studio continues to be one of our most successful programs with regard to revenue streams. And of major import is the California Arts Council grant, which we also partner with all of you by virtue of a county resolution making us a state and local partner, resulting in our designation of being the mandated public arts agency for Tuolumne County. 2 years ago, while thinking about the funding that we have been given from the county, it occurred to me that for the past 46 years of our existence, most all of our events, curated shows, and programs have taken place in downtown Sonora. In an attempt to be more inclusive throughout the county, I proposed 2 years ago that the annual In Focus photography show, now in its 30th year, be moved to Angelo's Hall in Columbia. In keeping with that same premise, 2 new programs were initiated this past year. One was the Jamestown First Friday Art Walk, Wine, Dine, and Music event. It was decided on and adopted as a new program by the Arts Alliance Board of Directors in December of 2015. Using the concept of creating a sense of vitality, community enrichment, economic prosperity through the arts, we initiated this new destination event in Jamestown this past May. designed and promoted to encourage visitation to local retail establishments, restaurants, wine tasting cellars, and participating artists and musicians. Promoted and welcomed by the business community of Jamestown, including the 14 businesses that's an average that participate each month. 30 local musicians have been paid by TCAA to perform in the gazebo to the amount of $2,300, which has been divided up between all of those bands. 15 additional musicians have performed on Main Street, and 80 local artists have participated, many of whom have sold artworks during this event. The second one, which is being designed to grow into a significant annual event to bring local residents, visitors, students, regional and neighboring county residents and tourists to Tuolumne County. The Handmade Parade is planned for Saturday, October the 1st. Both of these events are designed to bolster the economy and visibility in our county by attracting populations from both within and outside Tuolumne County through the arts. The most ambitious new program of the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance has been 18 years in the making since initially proposed by the leadership of the then Central Sierra Arts Council in 1998. Radio KAAD, LPFM 103.5 will begin streaming and broadcasting within the next few weeks. Transmitting from the historic dome with broadcast studios on the Casino High School campus, it is being formulated to be a voice of artistic diversity. We expect it to grow and thrive and be a very integral part of the arts, cultural, literary, and historic communities of Tuolumne County. For the past 3 years, under TCA's nonprofit status, a volunteer group, the KAAD Advisory Committee, has worked tirelessly this past year, in particular, developing programming. We expect eventually to incorporate a school student curriculum, as well as offering a platform for our already popular TCAA programs, such as Poetry Out Loud, promotion, and advertising classes and opportunities at CASA, TCAA's Art Studies and Dance Academy on the historic Dome campus. In addition to music, radio dramas, local personality interviews, literary voices, unique informational programs, multicultural experiences, and creative community programming will focus primarily on TCAA's mission, which is to promote the arts and arts education in Tuolumne County, thereby enriching the lives of its residents and visitors. In conclusion, this past Friday, I happened to read 2 letters to the editors in the weekend edition of the Union Democrat. Both letters spoke of the proposed plan to eliminate a 25-year-old TCAA and very successful music program at Curtis Creek Elementary School, which derived funding for this matching grant from the California Arts Council and the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance. I would offer that often the most important endorsement is not always in the numbers, but rather in the perception and the reputation of one's standing in the community. The 2 letters referenced a significant TCAA program, one by a former supervisor of the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors, who is also an educator, professional artist, and who wrote in this letter to the editor a cautionary tale of why a local, long-time, impressive music program sponsored by the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance should not be cut at this local school, and that the other letter was from our local, or our Democrat newspaper editor in her Barb's and Bravo's column on the same subject. So I would like to close with a quote from editor Lynn Riddle's column, quote, "A joint grant from the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance and the California Arts Council chips in $2,000 towards the cost. Wouldn't it be great if others in the community deemed that this was a priority and contributed as well," end quote. As a note of clarification, the California Arts Council grant that she mentioned is written by TCAA annually. Our application is measured against all the other 58 arts councils in California, peer-reviewed and given a numerical score from 3 to 10. TCAA consistently receives a score of 7.5 to 8, generally higher than other similar-sized rural arts councils in California. This past year, TCAA scored a 9. Bravos and applause welcome at this point. That was a very big deal. No one, except large counties like Riverside and Oakland and Monterey and other places like that, usually get a number like that. The suggested amount to apply every year is fixed at $12,000. The monetary award given to TCAA for 2016-17 is $11,300, which will be, as usual, divided up between the 4 or 5 elementary schools that participate annually in this arts and music program. And that's about $2,000 per school. And we keep less than $1,000 of that grant to help augment our administrative costs in doing that. So I would like to ask you that you and members of the audience today, your neighbors and friends and business associates, consider becoming a member of the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance. If we could double the amount that we raised last year, was $12,000 in memberships, that would go a long way to helping match the award from Tuolumne County, which in turn could be used to hire some desperately needed program administrative help for us. It would enable us to pay teachers in our Arts Academy so that we can offer art, music, and performing classes to students and residents of Tuolumne County and help augment our existing programs that need operational bolstering and support, all of which cannot be paid through grants. So I would thank you all really for your time and consideration of this funding request for your 2016-17 budget. I have taken the liberty to leave some newsletters and some membership brochures on the back table. We'd appreciate it if you picked up one and filled one out and closed a check and dropped it in the mail, or went online to our secure website and make a donation or become a member, either personal or business. If you're already a member or a supporter, we thank you sincerely. And if you don't need one, please take one anyway and give it to a friend or a neighbor on our behalf. As a very small gift this morning to all of you, I got up about 6:30 or 7 o'clock and I severely edited these remarks for your benefit. Thank you. Any questions?
Connie, thank you very much. And thank you to the Arts Alliance for all that you do for our community. It's very important work indeed, so really appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
I would echo your impassioned plea for additional support, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We love what we do. That's why we volunteer probably half as much time as we're paid for. Thanks.
There you go.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I was asked if representatives could be here. Well, Connie was here to speak to the Arts Alliance. Someone who couldn't be here today was the recently retired CEO of the Motherlode Fairgrounds, but I do have a letter from her before she left. It said, first, I'd like to thank you, staff, and the supervisors for your continued support of the Motherlode Fairgrounds. You've worked with us now for many years, and this type of partnership has been most appreciated. Like last fiscal year, I would request the same amount of $14,000 from the county. Last year's project will be complete this week and on budget. This request of $14,000 will go towards building improvements such as lighting, paint, and repairs. That's from Stacy Dodge.
Thank you. Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, supervisors. And my name is Glenn Caldwell. I am president of the Tuolumne County Business Council. I rise to support the consensus agreement with the regard to the TOT funding. Thank you, Craig. There was a lot of work there and the stakeholders. But I do have some reservations with one of the elements that we are going to approve it, but then we're going to draft some agreement between the city and the county and the Visitors Bureau sometime after the first of the year. It would be nice if we had things the other direction, but we don't. We're out of time and we have to go this direction. So I would encourage the supervisors to give staff some direction on what this draft might look like. If it's a draft and it comes down to, well, we're going to approve this and the agreement's going to say 1 year, then we would rise in opposition to that. We want the Visitors Bureau to be operating fairly on their own. Okay, you still need to oversee those monies, but we want it to go for some period of time that seems reasonable to the stakeholders, so the operations of the Visitors Bureau can work on multi-year budgeting for their advertising campaigns and other things that might come up. So the time frames is important, and I'll leave it with that.
Mr. Pedro, you want to respond at all?
Well, the last one I'll say lasted 28 years. We just need.
You got a thumbs up from the Business Council.
Yeah. Okay.
Over the shoulder. Okay. I think that's the intent, is that the agreement would be an ongoing agreement. So, and we'll certainly do our due diligence as the police on the staff to make sure that happens. But okay. Any other public comment? You're not public.
My husband says I am.
We all are.
Thanks. Yes, I agree. My name is Debbie Batista. I am the Auditor Controller for the County of Tuolumne. I am your Chief Financial Officer. And I think that I have a fiduciary responsibility to echo some of the things that you guys are talking about when it comes to the reserves. Using the $670,495 for the tree mortality and not coming up with a plan to replenish it or put it back gives me major concerns. The $670,000 was calculated before year end, before the general fund increased by $3.2 million, and we didn't look at any ways to negate some of it or all of it. Here's some of my concerns. I wasn't here in 1987 with the complex fire, but I truly believe from my history the complex fire was the last time that during a disaster that our property tax base was materially affected. Through the Rim fire, the Darby fire, the Moccasin fire, the floods of the 1990s, and all of the snow removal issues that we've had, we've only had the incident itself that we had to deal with, that we got state and or federal money for. It never affected our property tax levels like it has in Calaveras County and Lake County. It's never affected businesses where we lost sales tax. It's never affected in a major way our citizens who decide not to stay here, take their insurance money and go. So what we're doing in this budget is using $670,000 to balance the tree mortality when we had an avenue, $3.2 million, of using some of that to make it whole. I wouldn't have your guys' job for anything. I wouldn't have your guys' job if they paid you guys what they pay me. You guys have, I'm really into cooking now, you guys have a platter full of requests and a salad bowl of funds to meet those requests. And no matter how you pile on that salad plate, you're not going to make all those requests. So I ask you to use whatever resources you can to replenish and or negate part of the $670,000. And I also ask you to do these two things. Is at the mid-year, if you cannot, right now, at the mid-year review, when we have excess money, if we can set aside some of that money to replenish the $670,000. And I also ask that part of this budget hearing, you have another item where you ask for an accounting of tree mortality at the end of the year, so that if we don't use that $670,000, it doesn't roll into fund balance. We identify fund balance at the end of the year, and whatever that balance is, we either put it back to reserves or we use it in 17, 18. Some of the concerns I had, I just got back from the Mother Lode chapter of the Auditor Controllers. 2 of the Mother Lode counties said they did not apply for any of the tree mortality money at the state level for 15-16 because the whole $70 million the state told them had already been allocated. There was no more funds to go. I think if tree mortality is as bad, and it is, as you all think it is, and it's only going to get worse, and it's going to get worse not only in Tuolumne County, but it's going to move up north in the state of California. We're going to have a lot of counties applying for that money, and just like us, the state only has so much, and we need to keep as much as we can in the reserves to protect us years from now, or we're going to be hiring all these new people, and 18 months from now, we're going to be laying them off. So there's my speech for making whatever we can to the reserves and making it as whole as we can, and if we can't, put in steps to make sure we keep watching it and we make an accounting at the end of the year. And I volunteered to do the accounting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Come on up, Sheriff. You're public too.
That's why Mark's Mark's nicer. Okay. Well, that platter. Okay, I've pushed away from that platter. I just eat salad, so I've lost 52 pounds. So, you know, you feel a little bit better when you're a little leaner. So
Are you meaner too?
And meaner too, yeah. And that's where we're at. So what I want to talk to you about is a couple of things. Number one was that we put in our budget for the social media person, the consultant of Laura Cole. We did that RFP. She's the individual. And so you've seen our social media. You've seen us. It's a fantastic thing. It gets that information out. In fact, I think that my suggestion is that the county looks at it also, because what you've been talking about is all about tree mortality. That information can go out on Facebook so quickly, so easily, and we have learned a lot from her. And so I would advocate that we open our horizon on looking to those that are experts in this. No offense to the media outlets, but our Facebook, not the website, but our Facebook has more followers than both the Union Democrat and MyMotherLode.com. That's pretty impressive that the Sheriff's Office can do that. So we're putting that in. We're able to find money to offset those costs. One of the things that I'm here to talk to you about is the position of moving the corporal that's on your list in Mr. Pedro's memo. It talks about the conversion. As you see, it's a zero net, meaning that there's no addition of personnel. So I asked for you to do that. But the caveat of that is that we're going to be saving some of that. It's cost savings, and so Mr. Pedro has asked us, and we agree, that we're going to throw that money towards Laura Cole's or to that media contract. And then we are willing to go ahead and find the remaining of that money. But we want to make sure that is put in here because it's that important to us for that contract. Secondly, or the third thing, is that you were given this decision package for consideration in budget hearing examples. And as you look down there, all you see is a whopping number of $239,515 for mobile data computers. So, and looking at that, we're able to take $54,000 of Homeland Security and offset some of that. That puts us down to that 239 or 51,000. It was somewhere around there. I got two different numbers here, but Mr. Petro's numbers are on the memo is $239,000. So what we've done is that we've met with the auditor controller. What we would like to do, and then what I'm petitioning to you, is to do some internal borrowing. And what we would ask for this year is that if we can get moving, jumpstart this of $80,000. If we can take that, then that would get computers into our cars. I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. Computers have been in cars before I started in law enforcement. Mr. Hanville, Supervisor Hanville, I wrote down, it makes IT easier for our employees. This is your quote, because it's killing them. I have deputies that are going to the office to write the reports. When I started here, we would sit in our car, we would write it out, and we were in the field. Now, my deputies either got to come back to the office, which most of them do, or they find one of our storefronts and jump in there. They're not in the street. They're not out there. And so I think it also will allow our dispatchers to be more efficient in sending the calls because they will be able to see where the deputies are. So it is a benefit. It's more efficient. It makes work, lightens the load using the technology. So that's what I petition and I'm asking for. I know that there's some questions about internal borrowing and those types of things. In talking with my staff, I did not meet with Debbie, but she may have some comments. I won't speak for her because I wasn't there. But if you have any questions about that, maybe she can answer them. I know I'm kind of putting her on the spot last minute. But what's that? I don't have much hide left, so, you know.
Will it decrease over time?
Oh, Supervisor, that's a great question, and I hate overtime. We're going to be over, and we're coming back in December and to show you what has happened with our workers that are. I have right now, I believe, 12 spots that are open. I have 32 deputies, but I only have 20 that are working the street. That's why my overtime, in a quick synopsis, that's why my overtime is so high. I have 32 positions. I have 20 deputies on the street. I have minimum staffing.
How many of those 12 are true vacancies, and how many of them are out for duty related?
6 are going to be out. 6 are out on workers' comp, and the other 7 are open. Does that sound about right? Okay, so 5, and then there's 2 FMLAs.
Okay.
That's what's killing us. I mean, that's the bottom line, is that when somebody goes down and gets hurt, I got to fill it.
Thanks.
So,
can you, Auditor Controller, can you speak to the internal borrowing and how that's going to work or may work?
All it would do is that we would do a internal borrowing probably for workers' comp over, I'm assuming, 3 years. So your budget the revenue would show 100% this year, the expense would show 100% this year. You'd have the $80,000 paying it back. In year number 17, 18, 18, 19, you would show the balance of it being paid back over those years. We just make monthly payments.
So we would borrow, if I'm getting this right, $80,000?
No, the opposite around. I think we're going to borrow the difference between the $240 and the $80,000.
Okay. And where would the other $80,000 come from?
That's what he's asking for.
Oh, you want $80,000?
You want 80 instead of 239.
Kickstart it to get going, and then we'll come back and we pay you. Hey, I'll take it. We're
Are you asking for anything else?
Rescue, so
I'm just kidding you. Okay, so you want $80,000 in the budget, internal borrow the rest of them.
Right, and that would jump.
Okay.
And just to be really clear, the budget will change by the $240,000. You'll have a $240,000 revenue. Okay.
But it'll show 240, but everything but 80 will be internally borrowed, and then we got to cough up 80. Okay. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else you're going to be asking for on top of this?
That was a trick question.
You know, you never say never, but today?
Today.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
Mr. Chairman, Steve Boyack from the Human Services Agency. Are you going to ask for after public comment comments from staff? Or
No.
is this the right time?
This
to
is
do
the
that?
right time.
Okay. Mr. Hanvelt, Supervisor Hanvelt, pertaining to the point 8. I've been to no less than 2 conferences at CSAC in the last 6 months addressing the issue of Generation X and millennials in the workplace and the changing environment in the workplace that this baby boomer and the baby boomer boss that I report to is creating challenges in our workplace. It's that work-life balance that we are going to be dealing with, I think, from this point forward. These folks look at the workplace a little bit differently. They want to have a much better opportunity to manage their lives differently. The point 8 that we are bringing before your board today is one of those situations. I'm going to use her name. Her name is Amy Arndt. You hear her name up here quite frequently with respect to the elements of really leadership in the analyst role that she brings to our general services unit. And by doing so, being the leader of developing items such as RFPs, contracts, taking care of the leadership role within our analyst corps, which is very new. We have 2 new analysts plus a third in the last year, where she is taking a significant role in taking on the training requirements for those analysts, bringing them up to speed within the nature of being able to just manage the contracts and the administration responsibilities that they are responsible for. So when we are tasked with these kinds of requests and retaining staff of the caliber of Amy Arndt, I think that from this point forward, your board may be seeing requests like these that may be periodic in nature. As much as I bring a 1.0 to the workplace and beyond every day, others want other choices. They want the ability to have flexibility in the workplace, which in the environment which they work. So I continue to embrace these training opportunities from CSAC and others out there to learn more about how we can bring an embracement of change to our workplace that I think we're all going to have to eventually and will be tasked with to retain staff that we know are quality in our workplace, but want the flexibility of being able to manage their lives differently. So that's what I would say about the point 8. Something that we wouldn't necessarily bring before your board, but in certain situations, depending on the caliber of staff, we feel necessary to do so. In response to the rest of the personnel requests that are under the HSA umbrella, many of those requests are being brought to your board because of state-required mandates. AB 403, for example, is the mandate, our continuum of care mandate, that is going to require more resources both on the social services side and the behavioral health side. And those positions have been brought before you. We are certainly asking for your board's consideration in adding those positions that will allow us to carry out those mandates. Each one of the supervisors, managers, assistant, our department head, take pride in being able to examine our organization and only bring before your board those necessary elements that are going to be able to allow us to manage our organization to best benefit the clients that depend on our support. So with that, I would just be happy to answer any questions that your board has regarding our personnel requests. and hope that you would consider our requests.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. I'll start from the outside in. Supervisor Hanvelt, you got the first shot.
First shot. Oh, okay. I guess I would like to relook at this thing. I want to maintain reserves and look at that. I think that's a disaster coming down the road. We have to do something about that. Just a comment, Mr. Sheriff. Even in internal borrowing, we got to pay it back. That's another increase to your budget. It's more than the $80,000 because you got to pay it. Start paying it back right now because interest starts right away, and I think it does. We don't give interest-free loans internally even. As I look through the list of personnel actions, I believe the victim witness program was funded outside, wasn't it?
That's grant funded.
Pardon?
It was grant funded.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And it's grant funded. So, I mean, you come down through there and we got to do that. But I'm not in favor of adding any new positions at this point. I'm willing to relook at it later when we find out how we're really doing. But my commitment is to the employees that we need to deal with the class and comp study, and we need to deal with reserves. And as Mr. Boyack, thank you for the little lecture on the millennials. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that some people work part-time excel, but they're part-time employees, and I just think that they can demand things if they choose. They can also look for employment elsewhere. That's a harsh statement. I realize I'm making a harsh statement, but there are other people out there who can also do those jobs. I appreciate people that contribute, but I don't believe in promoting people to higher level positions who are part-time employees. They're part-time employees. If they want to work full-time, then I'd consider that. And that's where I am on that. You haven't convinced me to change that. So I guess when it comes to some of these things we have to do, but anything that we can put off in this budget, I think we need to look at it mid-year and see how we're doing. Even the paving projects, well, I think they're important, and we need to do those. I think we need to do the things that help our people. And rest of the roads in the county are going by the wayside. But I know Parrott's Ferry, Yankee Hill, certainly Parrott's Ferry needs to be done. But I'm having problems figuring out how to do this. And while I support Mother Lode Fair, I think Mother Lode Fair also has, like everybody else, has to show us that look, Mother Lode Fair is essential to the county. I don't want to, but they got to also show us how they're going to use the money and do things. We just got to move forward, but we got to do the things that help our county grow. And so I'm all in favor of Parrott's Ferry. I'm in favor of the IT manager because that'll get things done. And we're going to need the building inspector to build the jail and hopefully some other things. Those things all bring return. It's just a problem for me to go and commit a lot of the other things. And by the way, on my nice-to-have comment, Supervisor Gray, my point really comes down to I don't want to come back here and have to make the choice on who we let go. That's where I am on that. That's what I meant by nice-to-have. We got to deal with the employees we have and make sure that we're treating them fairly and not adding employees that we might have to shut down. That's too painful. So anyway, that's kind of where I am on a lot of this stuff. I think we all need to sit down here and figure out where our absolute priorities are and where our reserves end up.
Supervisor Gray.
Yes, Supervisor Hanvelt, that was a little tongue-in-cheek to you when I meant that. But
Thank you, sir.
I wasn't being critical. But factually, when we look at all these personnel issues, we have to run a county. We have to run it in the best, most efficient manner. And I think, from the health services standpoint, the stuff that the items that they propose to us sound reasonable and fair. And as far as the part-time position, being a manager, it does seem a little unusual. I mean, I'm going to agree with you, but again, trying to get the job done in the most efficient way possible, sometimes we have to look at things a little differently than we did 10, 15, 20 years ago. I certainly, in my tenure as a manager, I probably wouldn't have hired a part-time, given a part-time employee more money than one that worked full-time. But these are different times. We're dealing with a lot of different types of people and a lot of different problems. So I believe that what the health services changes, what they ask for, are reasonable, and we have to make reasonable decisions. So I certainly would support that. As far as the sheriff's request, I think it's a reasonable request. But one of the questions I would have is, when we put the computers in cars, are they going to work when we're out there in the field? Those are issues that I think that we need to really latch on to, because we have spotty coverage in the county. So I would think from stressing the importance of public safety, which we all agree that has been one of our priorities. That's where we're putting a lot of money towards the new jail. Is that it sounds like a reasonable request. We went through this a few weeks ago, looking at all of these items, and we gave staff directions to come back to us to where we could make some final decisions. I think the staff has done a good job in outlining those, and now it's up to us to make tough decisions now, not at mid-year, but now, and try to get to some consensus or vote where to go next, because we can't just stop and wait for 6 months. It's the old thing that I talk about all the time, keep kicking the can down the road. So that's my general comment.
Thank you. Supervisor Brennan, you got anything?
Yeah. And so I'm curious, the position that we're talking about, Steve, is that a grant-funded position?
Supervisor Brennan, the position we're talking about is a Staff Services Analyst 2. Supervisor Gray, although moving it to a Staff Services Analyst 3, that is a non-supervisory position. It is a line staff position, but it would be a lead position. It is not grant funded. It would be paid for out of federal, state, and realignment revenue.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And I just want to acknowledge that there is value, I think, in retaining good employees, because there certainly is an expense associated with training and getting folks up to a level that they can have the performance where they're actually doing the job efficiently and effectively. The sheriff said something that I thought was kind of interesting about the social media piece, and I know you found that money in your budget, but I'm wondering if, because I do agree with you, I do follow your Facebook page, and I think it is done very well. And I'm wondering if there is an opportunity to share something with the county. And I know that's probably for another, further exploration, just like Supervisor Gray was talking about with the mobile units, because I also did have that question down. But I think there would be some benefits to some kind of a shared.
There's always that opportunity, and we will most definitely. We've brought that to the consultant's attention, and so. there is always that opportunity, and so we'd be more than happy to open that dialogue. To go to your question and Supervisor Gray's question, we've done studies, we've put things in the cars, and now you're talking way above my understanding, but the cars go around and they look at the signal and they look at the strength of the service, and it will work. So we have gone out and done that, and I think it was a 3-month, 4-month process that we did that study. But going back to that question of the consultant, yes, there is, and I do think that it would give a lot of value, because the things that you talk about with your tree mortality, we're talking the same thing. Steve Boyak's talking the same thing. That generation, they don't go to the website to look for a job. They go to the Facebook page to look for a job. That's how they communicate, and we need to catch up to that. So I think that a lot of the things that we're talking here can be put on that. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to preface it. It takes a dedicated person who understands that. Don't say, hey, this is a great thing to do, and not be willing to be committed to put a person to put that information.
Yeah, it's one task to set it up. It's another task to keep it relevant.
Right, and that's why we're so successful, is because Sergeant Benson is so dedicated to it.
And Sergeant Benson is doing an awesome job.
She is. She's doing an outstanding job.
Don't go.
Yes, sir.
Is there an issue on the vehicle by which we get those services? Is she under contract to us, or are we doing task orders, or how are, not Sergeant Benson, I know how she,
She's
the consultant.
Yes, we're waiting for the budget. So we're waiting for budget. And so what we've done is, well, you know what? Why sit here, go back and forth? I'll just have the undersheriff explain it to you.
And I can just say, I reviewed it. It's our standard contract.
Okay, but we're okay. We're going forward with the contract, right?
Well, I've reviewed it, and I think it's over at Mr. Pedro's office.
Yes.
I understand. Nothing's set in stone until we get there. Okay. Evan, Supervisor Royce.
I'll start with the sheriff stuff, since he was just up there. I agree, Facebook stuff is really important. About a week ago, actually, I guess it was Saturday or Friday, there was a big bang in the middle of the night, 4 a.m., and I started to hear sirens. There was some stuff going on. Neighbors woke up. 4 in the morning, a lady starts banging on my door, my next-door neighbor. Everybody in the neighborhood's freaking out because there's a fire right down below my house in Ponderosa Hills, which, if anybody knows the neighborhood, it's a fire trap. And people were freaking out, so they were waking each other up. Kind of before that happened, I was wondering what was going on. I went on Facebook. I looked on the sheriff's. I actually didn't see it on there, but Tuolumne County Incident Feed, I did. And there's people that follow that stuff, so it is a very powerful tool for situations like that. So I fully support it. I'm willing to fund it, put my money where my mouth is on that. The next one for the sheriff, the $80,000 for your request. And the way you're structuring it, I think that's a responsible way to do it. That helps it on our end to be able to swallow that pill. Once again, I'm a big advocate for technology. I think it empowers us to do a better job, do more with less. I do have similar concerns as Supervisor Gray with the service and the signal in the mountains here, but I think we should work on that. We should fund that and figure out how to make it a viable solution for our deputies. As far as Steve's request, it seems reasonable to me. I agree with Supervisor Brennan. It's important to invest in our people. I think we can responsibly fund that through the state and federal revenues that we receive. As far as the list we have here, the expense reductions, I think Paris Ferry is a priority. I'm curious to hear from CRA between the two positions, the code compliance and the building inspector, if there's any kind of priority between the two of them. I personally think they're both really important. The building inspector particularly, being that it's an existing position with a trained person that we already have, and we are going to definitely have a need for them. I would hate to see us lose them. Code compliance is not currently filled, but I think there is an internal candidate which could be also a very valuable asset to us. And those positions, take note, do affect economic development. The staffing level of that office affects the building industry and the building department's ability to provide services and be timely with plan checks, inspections, and everything that has to do with any kind of new business or home or any kind of activity that's going on in that way. Since you're up here, do you want to address that?
Thank you, Supervisor. Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. As you said, you wanted to hear if there's a priority. Obviously, the code compliance investigator position is extremely important. With the new medical marijuana ordinance, we do need someone who is trained and qualified to handle the complaints and to work with the sheriff's office on that. We are falling further and further behind on code compliance because we do not have the staff dedicated to that role. Our building inspectors are handling code compliance cases when they have time. The primary person handling code compliance is your chief building official, and he's got many other priorities for his time as well, but he is the one who literally pulled out the plants with our last medical marijuana abatement program. And frankly, we need that position. That was discussed when that ordinance was adopted, that we would get assistance with code compliance. The building inspector position is one that, as Mr. Pedro advised you, we have 2 grant-funded positions now, and those are slated to end at the end of this month. We will, if you decide not to fund the extension of one of those positions, we will probably be back here at mid-year advising you of the need for an inspector to be rehired or a new position to help with the jail project, because that will require a full-time building inspector to be devoted to that one project. The good news is building has picked up considerably in Tuolumne County. We are seeing a large number of building permits being issued from previous years, and also the number of inspections has increased significantly. So I don't have a priority. I'm asking your board to please fund both of these.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a question for Ms. Shane.
Go ahead.
Can you give me just a rough estimate of how many code compliance issues we have out there open right now?
777.
Thank you.
That's gone up.
Yeah.
It's gone up significantly.
A couple hundred, yeah. Can I continue with my comments?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So that just supports what I've been trying to say, I guess, on that front. And I would like to just echo what Ms. Shane said, is that the marijuana aspect to the workload is something that we've imposed on them, and I don't want to leave them left high and dry. That's an important thing, and it does affect the community, especially, I know you particularly experienced it in Don Pedro, and I think that we actually have had some success with what we've put together. So I'd like to give them the tools to continue to operate in that way. So really, I guess there's only a few things. The Geiger study is not really something that I would be an advocate for. I'd say that's an easy one to check off. I think code compliance abatements, I think we've already kind of moved forward with some of that. And I think it's important because it's in my district. The Tuolumne pool resurfacing is a huge priority for me. I just want to highlight that. I guess the question I would have for Mr. Pedro, we're trying to get, can you just summarize the numbers we're trying to get to and what we need to do to balance out here?
We're balanced.
Yeah, right now we're balanced. So anything that you want to unfund, then it's where do you
So
want
with
me to
all
put
of
it?
these items on this, we're currently balanced. It's just the impact to the reserve.
These are changes to the balance.
Yeah, we're balanced. These are just some ideas of things you could cut to create capacity
Additionally.
and then add if you
Okay.
want.
No, I'm happy with this, and I think, and
And just, can I be real clear on the things like the code compliance amount and the pool? The idea would be if you don't fund it now, we'll come back when necessary, and we'd probably be talking contingencies or pulling from some other center, when we know those exact figures as they're identified.
Well, the pool's already been issued to be bid correctly.
Right.
Or correct. Last meeting we called for bids, and we're going to get those back within the 13th. So by our next meeting, we'll know where we're at on that.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I know there's some adults with the surfacing, and I'd like to see the more durable surface be utilized. But anyways, so all in all, I guess I'll just sum it up saying that I'd like to commend our staff. This is a good budget with the constraints that we're in, and I think we continue to manage our funds wisely and support the priorities that we always have, which is public safety and our transportation system. So
Okay.
that's it.
So I'm going to go down and be specific, okay, because I can't help myself. First of all, on page 7, you've got a laundry list of the incorporated positions. The code compliance investigator, absolutely. The IT manager, absolutely. The the extension of the building inspector, absolutely. The juvenile corrections officers, absolutely. The victim witness, the 2 victim witness positions, they're grant funded. I am not in favor of an additional admin assistant in CRA. To reinstate the GIS analyst, I think we've got to do that. But I don't want to change the current manning in CRA until we get a new CRA director in, and they can take a look at how they want to do business. I think anything prior to that is ill-advised. The behavioral health might be an exception to that. I'm not really sure. I think that may not be that important right now. But I'd like to have Ms. Shane talk about what those 3 behavioral health, 4 behavioral health positions are.
You mean Ms. Conley?
I'm sorry, Ms. Conley. Are those all federal funded positions? Are those all federal funded positions? Federal or state? And that's the simple answer. That's all I need to know.
Yes.
They are federal or state. Okay, then I'm all for it. That's more services to our people. I assume that all the social services are the same, so I'm okay with those. I'm okay with the corporal to the sheriff corporal to the jail sergeant. I think the rest are zero net, so I'm okay with those. Otherwise, what you've got in the budget looks okay to me. What I want to do now is go to the decision packages. I want us to have a commitment on the TOT revenue adjustment. If we end up getting more TOT, unless there's a really good reason that transpires between now and the time that we find out that we're getting more TOT, I would like to see us have a commitment to maximize that going into the reserves. I think that we really need to mitigate our draw on the reserves as much as possible and recapitalize it if possible. As far as the expense reductions, the only one that I'm in favor of not funding, and let me make sure I understand, those expense reductions are expenses that are in the budget, right? Okay. The only one, is there a board member or any staff member of the Motherlode Fair present? Okay. I am not in favor of spending $14,000 on the Motherlode Fair absent somebody that is currently in a position of authority coming and telling us what they're going to spend that money on. That's been our rules of the road all along. I appreciate Stacy's letter. I think it's wonderful that she's trying to take care of the organization that basically let her go. But I want somebody from the fair to come talk to that and make a commitment that on how they're going to spend that money.
And Mr. Chair, just so it's really clear, she wrote that before when she was still employed, just to say.
Okay. She's no longer an authority.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, we're writing a blank or a check for $14,000 with no commitment on how they're going to spend it. I really appreciate the Arts Alliance coming and providing us with that kind of information, and I think we need to have that kind of information from everyone. On uses, the radar sign trailer I'm really in favor of, but I think that we buy that when we find some money in CRA budget. Okay, I mean, we find money as we go through the year, so I'm looking for that to be done out of Hyde. The mobile data computers I'm fine with. The plan that the sheriff outlined, and I would love to see that happen. I think that will affect how much overtime gets charged in that department, and we need to get some measure of control on that. As far as the Geiger study and the code compliance abatements, I see us doing those out of Hyde if money becomes available. The consultants, I do want to put that money to both biologists and the water consultants, and I would take that out of contingencies if you can't find it between now and this afternoon somewhere else. And I am strongly in favor of the Tuolumne Pool resurfacing, not just because I'm within arm's reach of Supervisor Royce, but that's important to do for our people. Okay? And I would also take that out of contingencies. So basically, out of Hyde on the radar sign, Geiger study, code compliance, and definitely contingencies on the consultants and the mobile data computers and the pool resurfacing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Greg, quick question. Didn't we have the posse on here someplace?
Yeah, there's $7,500 that the board's always provided that group, so I did not put them on.
That's not an option. We've got.
Well, it's always an option, but
it just wasn't on the list. I thought it was on the last list. I want to make sure it was there.
It's there.
Okay. Okay. So, any comments on what I just outlined?
Yes. Go ahead, Sherry.
No, I would just agree with the addition of 5,000 additional for the search and rescue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to put 5,000. I had it written here. Another $5,000 to get search and rescue up to 20. That would come out of contingencies if you can't find it anywhere else. Supervisor Gray.
I'm in agreement with almost everything except the code compliance abatement money. I know that fund is just about exhausted in tearing down the last building, and if you don't have any money available, I think you need to have it in there.
Out of contingencies, $50,000 for code compliance. Are we good? Can I get a motion? Do you got all those notes written down there? Do you need a motion on that, or can you just take it?
If we can take it as consensus, because we're going to make these hard changes, and then it affects a number of calculations, the resolution, and so forth, and we'll bring those back this afternoon.
Okay. Do we have consensus?
Yes.
Head nods? Okay. You're good? Yes. No, we're now closing the public hearing. Okay. Public hearing is closed, and we're going to take 10 minutes. Please be, we'll take 12 minutes. Please be back in your seats on time. We're 15 minutes late, okay? Okay. Is anyone here to talk to the 1115 specific to Water consultation services. No. Okay, then I'm going to defer that to the afternoon. If the clerk of the board would read our 11:15 number 2 and 3 appointment, our number 2 appointment, please.
This is consideration of adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C, due to pervasive tree mortality.
Ethan.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Good morning. Ethan Bilgmeyer, Tuolumne County Administrator's Office, Office of Emergency Services. Ms. Riggs will be here in just a moment. She's just putting, well, here she is with the memo.
Okay, good morning. Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office.
Surprise.
Surprise. Thank you. Thank you for taking this item quickly. Unfortunately, I was trying to get the memo, and I don't have the correct one in front of me. So, I was going to say I'll do this from memory. Lucky you. Thank you. So, during the last meeting, we did talk about, let me back up. As you know, the need to renew the local proclamation is no less than every 30 days. So, we come before you sometimes every 2 weeks asking you to consider renewing this proclamation. So that is why we're here once again today. So we have every other week, it's bi-weekly, we have a phone call with PG&E. As some of you know, and some of you more intimately, Supervisor Hanvelt and Brennan, I've been asking PG&E for some time that they would collaborate with us in a way that when they were working in some of these project areas, such as right now Miwok Village, that we would be able to reimburse them for the trees that they removed. The reason for this is they've already mobilized equipment, they already have contractors on board, and it doesn't make sense if they're removing 3,500 trees that we would then come in and remobilize for 200 trees. It first came back where they told us no, that was not possible. We kept pushing, we kept working with them, and we were very excited last week when they came back and we actually had a preliminary draft contract before us, and County Council has a copy of that, and she will be working on that. It's the first time they've ever done this, so it's very exciting for all of us, and I do believe that this will save us and our taxpayers and our residents not only funds, but also the impact on our residents. To have all of that work going on is very, very disruptive, and then to have them pack up and move out and then have us bring in our own contractors would just keep this as an ongoing, never-ending process, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So with that being said, we will review that. That it's a contract, and right now it does not contain a monetary amount because it's based on the number of trees that need to be removed. Once County Council has reviewed that, we will then give you an update at the next meeting on that. In the meantime, as we had mentioned, we have been sending out right of entry permits to a myriad of different neighborhoods. And at first what we had started doing was taking and selecting different project areas and then setting out these right of entry forms. As you know, these right of entry permits take quite a bit of time to have them returned to us so that then we can begin developing projects. So Mike Albrecht and Ethan and myself decided, okay, we're just going to select a whole bunch of areas we know we need to work in collaboration with PG&E where we know they're going and try and get them out quickly. So that's about 6,000 right of entry permits that staff is working on getting out. Thankfully, I believe it's the tax collector's office who has a folding machine, which is great because we were all taking turns folding these pieces of paper, stuffing them, putting labels on, and then so Shelley has offered up her machine, and we think that's fantastic. We also have Ryan Campbell, who is a staff services analyst. He's relief. He's been coming in and working and helping out. So as those right of entry permits come in, we will then start developing more projects. With that being said, you may remember we came to you during the last board meeting and we talked about a potential agreement with U.S. Forest Service for up to $2 million. We now have a executed agreement. It's $2 million, and if you didn't see my email, there is no match on that. Originally, Jeannie thought there'd be a 25% match, which they would be able to be very flexible with us and how we'd meet that. She then did come up to me afterwards and said that there is no match. That is fantastic. Those are same roads we would have had to do up along, say, Dodge Ridge and Pinecrest and a whole lot of other areas that would have required match that now we have an alternate funding source. So that's very exciting, and we'll be meeting with them hopefully this week so that we begin determining the priorities that they have for the roads. And I think it will be that Dodge Ridge and Pinecrest area first, and we'll go from there. As we talked about the next areas that we're looking at, PG&E has indicated that they'll be moving into Twain-Hart. We've had quite a few phone calls from people who are concerned in Twain-Hart. PG&E has acknowledged that they thought they would get there. They have not been able to get there. And normally they're doing 2 rounds in each area, and this will be their first round. And that should hopefully be happening between October and November. So their vegetation manager, Corey Peters, is working with our coordinator, Mike Albrecht, in determining what exact areas are they going to be working in so we can get those right of entry permits out. And again, I do encourage anyone who receives these right of entry permits to please return them as quickly as possible. We do have our own office is answering phone calls all day long. We do have some amazing volunteers who have stepped forward, and Ethan is working with them, getting them trained, and they're over at the Francisco building, and they are returning phone calls as well. So that is a big help. So some other areas, and I'm just going to quickly go through some of these. We talked about Twain-Hart, Sugar Pine, Sierra Village, Twain-Hart Drive, Ferretti Road North, Smith Station Road, Cold Springs, Phoenix Lakes, Crystal Falls, and did I forget one? Cedar Ridge. Let's see, we have the community information lines. And then one other thing, just in case you've seen it or received questions, you may remember a year ago when we put out and contracted with our project coordinator, Mike Albrecht, I did alert you to the fact that while those costs would be eligible under CDAA, the fact that we did we suspended our normal procurement policies and sole sourced, FEMA does not allow that. I've heard many of you voice that you're not feeling as if we may ever get a federal proclamation, but in the event that we do, we wanted to make sure we were in the right place to do it. So Ethan had been working on a request for proposals for the tree mortality coordinator project coordinator. That has been out. It is due on tomorrow. And this way we will ensure that in the event that we get a federal proclamation, we are now going out to a competitive process, and it will then be eligible. And with that being said, I know Mike Albrecht, we did ask him to come in to offer any updates. If you have any questions, he is here. And, of course, we have Ethan, who is on the ground doing all kinds of stuff. I don't want to forget about the state responsibility area prevention fund and tree mortality grants. These are the grants we talked about a little bit during the last board meeting. They are $200,000 each. If you want to purchase equipment, there's a cap of $100,000. A group of us met last Friday, and we'll meet again this week, and is working with CAL FIRE to get these grants completed and submitted. So they are the eligible applicants are anyone who is local, city, not local nonprofits. So that could be our fire prevention, fire safe councils, and then as you'll hear in a little bit, your TMAP, your Tree Mortality Aid Program. They will be able to apply as well. And then for the first time with the tree mortality grants, that even Miwok Tribe will be able to apply because they have not been eligible for SRA. So it's offering a lot of opportunities. You know that we brought before you, we're waiting for the hazard mitigation grant that we applied for. That was $4 million, again, a 25% match. What we are going to be submitting is a request or a grant request that we would be able to take and use $200,000 to match against the 25% for those homeowners who cannot afford the match. So we're trying to get into, again, remember, hazard mitigation is at 100 feet around the home for defensible space, fuels reduction. The other one is there's 2 other components that we'll be submitting. Another one is for those homeowners who've been able to pay to have trees felled but could not afford to have all of the fuels hauled away. And the second one is what many of you have been speaking about, is our community service access roads. While we have a lot of roads that are county maintained, we have a whole lot of roads that are not. And we want to make sure that we keep that ingress and egress routes open for both emergency personnel and for people that they're able to get in and out as needed. So there's a lot of leeway here. These grants for the state were made for private lands, and they're being very flexible in how they work with that. And with that being said, I would like to give you an opportunity to ask Mike Albrecht any questions if you have any, or a general update. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of either Tracy or Mike?
Just a quick comment for Tracy. Tracy, both I
receiving, if they're on the right property, they could be receiving 3 different right of entry forms, and so it's very confusing. And so I don't know if you can address this in your at your task force meetings, but we need to try and really identify who's doing what. And I know it's difficult because every one of those silos has a different process. I understand that, but if we can somehow figure out a way to articulate, especially for our seniors, what we're doing, and specifically why and which trees, and provide some assistance there, that would really be helpful.
Absolutely. I'm not quite sure how we'll do that right yet, but we'll figure it out.
It's difficult because I understand the complexities, but
Yep.
it's, I think it's becoming very challenging for a lot of us.
Absolutely. And
Sorry.
And it's not just our seniors who are confused. Really, it is when we had our MIWAC stakeholder meeting, there were a lot of people confused of varying ages. You get one from TUD, you get one from us, maybe Twain Hart, maybe Caltrans. Then you realize that PG&E just does an acknowledgement, or a courtesy. They don't have to have permission, but yet you have to sign a form to get the debris removal. So it is very confusing, and we are trying to maintain, and I say we, it's Ethan, who is maintaining the county website, which a lot of our seniors don't look at, and I do understand that. We also, what I didn't mention is talking about forums. We as a group, remember, we did these in April. What the group threw around, and we did have a core task force meetings. What we had on Friday was maybe what we do instead of different supervisory districts, maybe we go to, say, the fairgrounds, and we do something from, say, 9 to 1 on a Saturday, and just open it up, have all the agencies available, answer questions. They can sign up for the debris removal program. We have everyone there. But that's another option. It may not necessarily reach all of those, but maybe we can work with Area 12, too, to just equip them with all the information they may need to answer questions.
And that's what I'm wondering, if we can develop some kind of a cheat sheet, if you will, or a reference sheet. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
Then they can get it out maybe through some of their providers, especially that are up in that area.
Absolutely.
And help kind of spread the word.
Mr. Chairman, a question for
Sure.
Mike, if just quick. Just comment
Hello,
first.
I'm Mike Albrecht, by the way.
First of all, it looked like a bomb hit Big Creek Shaft Road, but a great job. People are really happy out
Yeah,
there.
they are.
My question is, is there anything specific that's been happening that's causing you more problems than you think it should, or that we could help with?
I think probably Tracy and Sherry both hit on the toughest thing, is getting right of entry for the properties, and it's taken a while to gear up for that. I think staff's really geared up well for that now. And in hindsight, I think we would have gone after that about 3 months ago, like we are right now, with some more staff on it. And I would say, looking ahead to the next whatever emergency we have, I think it would be great to work on one right of entry process that allows several different agencies in the county, the state, to come on with one signed document, maybe list the people that are coming on. I think that'd be a very worthwhile effort between now and the next disaster, whatever it is.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Any Supervisor Handbell?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. Last week, late in the week, I heard that Assemblymember Dolly was responsible, that got a trailer bill passed, and we're going to get 125 megawatts, and I believe that might include Chinese camp, which is
It does.
Keep
It
this
was listed.
offering. That's good.
You specifically did. Okay. Mike, I just want to thank you. Honestly, without your leadership, we wouldn't be where we are. I really appreciate what you're doing with us and for us. Staff's doing a great job. Thank you both for that. It's bureaucracy at its finest, and I both apologize to our constituents for that, but also beg your indulgence because we're having to deal with it with you. But I think this is really, really important, and obviously I'm going to ask for some public comment at this point. Seeing none, I would love to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Royce. Consider adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Will you please read item 3 on our 11:15 appointment?
This is a presentation on tree mortality aid program.
Members of the board, Ethan Billigmeyer, Tuolumne County Administrator's Office, Office of Emergency Services. I am here before you very happily to announce a new aid program that will be specific to the tree mortality emergency. This program was started by the Sonora Lions Club in conjunction with the Sonora Area Foundation and Area 12. And I have, I'm pleased to introduce Mike Olenchok, I believe I said your name correctly, and Kathy Peacock, who will be giving you a presentation on the tree mortality aid program, and they'll go through all of the details in terms of eligibility and what the program is all about. So with no further ado.
So good morning. My name is Kathy Peacock, and I have the TMAP hat on today. So for Chairman Rotifer and the rest of the Board of Supervisors and Mr. Pedro, good morning. This is a much happier, more delightful kind of a presentation for you all to end your morning session. So the TMAP is a partnership of volunteers from Sonora Lions Club, Sonora Sunrise Rotary, Kiwanis Club of Sonora, Area 12 Agency on Aging, Sierra Nonprofit Services, Interfaith, Sonora Area Foundation, help from Office of Emergency Services, and both Fire Safe Councils, Highway 120 and 108, and several other individuals. This program was founded by the Sonora Lions Club for a centennial project with local impact that may just prove beneficial to other areas facing similar situations. The purpose is to seek funding to assist primary residents, property owners, with the health and safety and fire hazard removal of debris from low-income seniors and adults with disabilities facing the high costs of cutting down and removing dead and dying trees due to the catastrophic tree mortality issues we're facing. We bring you this information this morning so you know what is going on, what groups are supporting, and how the program will work. We are not asking for money, In fact, we will be holding fundraisers seeking major grants and matching grants, as well as donations by other individuals. Mike Olenchek from the Sonora Sunrise Rotary and the Sierra Outdoor School up on Big Hill will present a very short PowerPoint with almost all of the information you'll be needing. Others are here to answer questions in general about the application process, fundraising activities, and how we all can help each other. So with that, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. Again, as Kathy indicated, the whole reason for the tree mortality aid program is to improve the health and safety of seniors and disabled homeowners in Tuolumne County. Our focus is to work as a collaboration between private and public partners in support and assistance in the removal of hazardous, dead, and dying trees as a result of catastrophic tree mortality. Next slide. So you all are pretty well versed in the issue. This PowerPoint is primarily designed for service organizations that might not have as much intimate knowledge of what some of the problems are. So there's some biology in there, and we talk about hazard trees as they become hazard to structures and infrastructures and those kinds of things. So we'll skip to the next slide. Prior to or after the development of this PowerPoint, we got some good news from CAL FIRE that they finally started to put together some potential grant opportunities. But as this organization got together, there was really no mechanism for low-income and disabled seniors to be able to afford to move some of these hazard and dead trees off of their properties. PG&E and the county and Tuolumne Utilities District have programs in place to deal with their infrastructure and water and roads. But really, there isn't a whole lot for low-income and disabled seniors that have issues on their properties. And I might add that even though CAL FIRE is putting together these various grants, you know, there's still a process for reading the grants, awarding money, and we're talking about issues that are relevant and happening right now, especially as we get ready to move into winter. Go ahead, Ethan. So as Kathy indicated, this was the brainchild of the Sonora Lions Club, and they're a 501c4 Area 12 agency. We've worked with Office of Emergency Services. There are a number of other organizations that got on board, Sonora Sunrise Rotary, Kiwanis, Seroptimus, and Twain Hart. So there are a number of organizations that got on board because they understood the need. We also, as Kathy indicated, have Glenn and Rick from the respective Highway 120 Fire Safe Council and 108 Fire Safe Council that will help in dealing with issues on the property, looking at, you know, are these trees within defensible space? Will they qualify for removal and those kinds of things? Next slide. We have we're working with Gregory Oliver, who's donating his time to kind of work as the project administrator, and so we have language in various documents to determine eligibility. We have a fundraising arm, and so the idea is we get all these service clubs involved in some type of fundraising activities with those funds going directly to the tree mortality aid program. And what we try to do is leverage the money that we raise in that regard with funds from the Sonora Area Foundation. Go ahead, next slide. Again, the selection process as far as eligibility, I'll just move right over here. They must live on the property, must be 60 or older or a disabled adult, and there are specific forms that we need to kind of vet if that person is truly disabled. It only applies to Tuolumne County. And then let's see, again, just some administrative things. They need to have a photo ID, provide proof of income. That's one of the limitations. We have a self-assessment form where a potential candidate for services will select where they fall as far as income, and then we'll work with them through that process. Next one. Again, we talk about immediate needs with service clubs. We need them to get on board and figure out if they want to make a flat donation or if they'd like to sponsor a particular fundraiser, which will allow for those funds, again, to go to TMAP. And you can go to the next slide. We have a website that's currently under construction. We also have a Facebook presence. You have to put in Tree Mortality Aid Program because there are lots of tree mortality sites on Facebook as if one navigates that because they like to see Tree Mortality Program. Next slide. This is kind of our organization as it exists right now. Project administrator, Kathy Peacock's our secretary. We have a treasurer that works with Sonora Area Foundation, which is our kind of our fiscal agent. Administrative support comes from Area 12 Agency on the Aging. That's Kristen Milhoff. Fundraising is Tom Penhelgon, who's chairing that with a number of other service clubs that are on board to help with some of the fundraising activities. Who did I miss? We have a publicity media arm, and of course we have logistics, and I talked about Rick and Glenn that will be working with licensed timber operators to ensure that they're qualified to be able to do the work. Next slide. And these are some of the participants that kind of initiated the process, got on board really quick to help move this project through. And pretty much the whole choir out here is the member of the TMAP organization. If you have any questions, please feel free, and I'm sure somebody can provide you with an answer.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody for doing this. This is incredible. Anyway,
you're welcome.
Yeah, it's sorely needed, and it came to mind actually when Tracy was talking about the fact that some of our seniors and financially challenged folks don't necessarily have access to the internet. Has anybody looked at putting a couple icons on the desktop of all of our library computers that are linked to TMAP's website and also our tree mortality? If I was out there and didn't have access to the internet, that's one place that I would go to get access to it. If there's any other ways that we can do that, I don't know what they are, but we need to look at. You were talking about the fact that we don't always reach everybody, but any way that we can to try and facilitate reaching folks. This is too good a program to not be out there in prime time. So
we did do a kind of a media day last week, and there were some, I think mymotherload.com or mymotherload put a radio message out there. We're getting ready to launch the whole application process on September 15th. And so we're just throwing some little teasers out there, but there's a whole support staff at Area 12 Agency for Aging with Kristen and Kathy. And we plan on going live on the 15th.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, I just have to commend Glenn and Tom and the entire team. We were all expressing frustration about the lack of assistance. There just was no assistance out there, and we could just see this enormous problem just growing exponentially in front of us. And Glenn and Tom stepped up. They got this group of folks behind them. It's taken a couple of months to get it organized and to get it organized correctly so that when it rolls out, all of those pieces are going to, they're going to be covered. And the partnership that was established with Area 12 and looking at the different resources that would be needed, again, thank you. Thank you so very much for taking this on and getting it started. I know that you have successfully already raised some funds, and so that's exciting. I think with just a couple of weeks, people recognize the enormity of this, and I believe I heard $30,000 or $40,000 that you've raised in just the last couple of weeks, and going to be looking forward to hearing about some of the fundraisers. And I know personally from this board, I want to, any way that we can assist in this endeavor. I believe we are here and want to help however we can. Thank you so very much.
Supervisor Handel.
I want to add my thanks. This is a clear example of why Tuolumne County is a great place to live. You got a problem, and the citizens stop waiting for the government to help them. They step up and find a solution. I want to congratulate you also and all the players, the stakeholders for stepping up to this issue. And I encourage anybody who has the wherewithal to join you and find a way to help this. This is a big problem, and stepping up and coming up with a solution. I'm just so thankful that you did that. Thanks and congratulations. You're a model. You're a model for this whole state. You really are, in how things need to be done. So thanks so much.
Supervisor Gray.
Just to add on, my thanks also, but I think Supervisor Hanveld kind of hit it there with it's Tuolumne County. This is what people do, and we have a bunch of fine people in Tuolumne County that step up. So thank you.
Well, one more thing I'll add. We're hoping that once we go live, that amplifier effect. We've talked to somebody down in Merced, and we still have to vet him, but he's indicated that he's willing. He has a tree service to take out 50 trees, and when you talk about 50 trees at almost $1,000 a piece, that's like an in-kind contribution of $50,000. So we're hoping that those kinds of things, as we go live, that will happen, and it'll just continue to grow and grow and grow.
Great. Again, thanks, and a great presentation. And with that, we can go to lunch on an upbeat note. First of all, before I adjourn for lunch, I just want to be clear that at 1:30 we have a closed session appointment, so we will initially be reconvening, and I'm going to go ahead and have the clerk of the board read the 1:30 so we can just go into the 1:30 appointment when we come back.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So we consider doing all three closed sessions at the same time? Under item 23, there's two other closed sessions.
Okay. Let's read.
Actually, I believe we have to read them at 1:30.
Okay.
Because they are scheduled for 1:30.
Okay, we will come back at 1:30, and we will. That is a good correction, and we'll read it at that point. But yeah, we will do all three of them at the same time. So we'll be back here at 1:30 to read the agenda item and then go into closed session. Adjourn for lunch. Number 6, 2016. Will the clerk of the board please read our 1:30 closed session, as well as item 23, all three parts.
So the 1:30 is closed session, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, authority, government code section 54956.9D1, Mark Kurzik et al. Versus County of Tuolumne, United States District Court, Eastern District of California, case number 115 CV 01116 DAD SAB, and then number 23 is closed session with labor and negotiators Craig Pedro and Fremd, Authority and Government Code Section 54957.6, all bargaining units, and then conference with real property negotiators, price and terms, Authority Government Code Section 54956.8, negotiators Craig Pedro, Daniel Richardson, negotiating with Jane Holman Sermden on the .0.592 acre parcel located at 10 Calavera Street in Sonora with APN 056-09032.
Okay, County Council, do we anticipate a report out?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Pedro? No? Okay, is there any public comment on, I'll start with the 1:30 closed session conference with legal counsel. Is there any public comment with respect to item number 23, either the conference with labor negotiators or conference with real property negotiators? Okay, seeing none, then we are going to adjourn into closed session, and we'll be out as soon as possible. Yeah, in military terms, that's not a good thing. Okay. Sheriff understands that. Okay, we're back in session. And first order of business, we are coming back from 3 closed session items. The first one was a 1:30 appointment conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Mark Kurzik versus County of Tuolumne. Supervisor Hanvelt moved and Supervisor Gray seconded, and by a vote of 5-0, the board, number 1, approved the county counsel to defend the county and any named employees in the matter of Mark Kurzik versus County of Tuolumne, a federal lawsuit filed in the Eastern District of California related to the Fair Labor Standards Act and overtime rate issues, and 2, approved retaining the law firm of Rennie Sloan Holtzman Sakai to represent the county in the lawsuit, and authorize the county council to continue to use April 8th, 2016 retainer agreement for this litigation. In the matter of the 2 other closed session items, which were item 23, conference with labor negotiators, and conference with real property negotiators, price and terms, we have no report. And we are going to reopen our 9 o'clock appointment. Would the clerk of the board please read the 9 o'clock appointment again?
All right. So this is continued consideration of adopting all budget actions contained in the fiscal year 2016-17 budget documents, including personnel recommendations, capital information technology project lists, appropriation computation method and limit, fiscal year 2016-17 adopted budget resolution, and cancellation of prior year general fund reserves in the amount of $670,495.
Mr. Pedro.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so since our hearing this morning, I'm just going to say Debbie and Tracy got to work in putting in the changes that your board directed. I want to draw your attention to page 9 of your memo, because that's where the action's going to be. I'm going to let them explain what they've done, but want you to find that. So it's page 9 of the memo. That's where the actions would be. And I'm just going to read those real quick. It's recommended that your board conduct a public hearing to consider adoption of all budget actions contained in the fiscal 16-17 budget document. And I would say with directed modifications is how you would amend that. And then point 2, including all personnel recommendations as outlined in tab 2, as modified, revised IT capital list contained in tab 2, your appropriation limit, which Debbie will, I'm sure, go through as modified, and then the adopted budget resolution as presented in tab 2, again as modified, and then again making the finding that you're canceling the prior year reserves in the amount of this $670,495. With that, I'll get out of the way and let them explain the changes.
What you have in front of you is a schedule showing all of the changes that you authorized. Do you want me to go over them line by line or just kind of talk to you in big picture?
You don't need to go over them line by line.
Okay, great. Then the only thing that I would point out to you is that in the general fund, the net effect to contingencies is to reduce contingencies by $208,527. So that's all of the adjustments for the consultant, for the code compliance, for the sheriff, and changing the CRA administrative or assistant back to relief. In solid waste, all you're doing is reducing an expenditure and increasing their contingency by the $23,500, which was going to be revenue and CRA. And in county capital, we're increasing by $13,000 for Tuolumne Pool and recognizing $13,000 of the transfer in from the general fund.
Okay, what is our contingency after the reduction? I know, it was a trick question.
Yeah, I didn't bring a calculator or phone. It was 200 and...
This is Common Core math. I'm guessing it's just north of $1 million.
Right, so, yeah.
But I want it on the record.
Yeah.
Carry the one.
I can't see her. I'd help you.
Okay, while they're doing that, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll wait.
Let me see the number.
Yes, you may.
1, 2, 2, 1, 0, 26, 208, 527, 99, 94, 10, 2, 1, right? $1,012,499. Is that what you got? He'll check it with the calculator, but we believe it's $1,012,499.
Thank you. Okay. Any comments or discussion items from the board?
Yeah.
Okay. I've already asked for public comment. So I'm looking for a motion.
So what we did was we went in and we removed the full-time administrative assistant out of Community Resources Agency, and we added back in the $21,000 that they had in relief prior to the full-time position being added. And then we reduced the amount that they had coming in from solid waste to offset the other half of that position. So the revenues were reduced coming in from solid waste. The full-time position was removed from CRA, and the $21,000 of relief was put back into their budget, so they still had something to work with.
Okay. Still looking for a motion.
And when you do your motion, will you please, when you come to the GAN limit, that you want to do number 2, which is the most money that we can get for the GAN limit, because the other three, I think 3 of the other 6, or 4 of the 6 are negative because the city of Sonora and the county of Tuolumne both had a decrease in population. So for the GAN limit, it's not only the amount, which will be on your new GAN limit, or $138,869,378. That number didn't change, but you still need to recommend alternative number 2.
Where are you at?
On number 3.
Oh, okay.
So the motion would be something like this. It would be a motion that your board adopt all the budget actions contained in the fiscal 16-17 budget document as modified, including all personnel recommendations as outlined in tab 2, attachments B and C, as modified. Second, approving the revised IT and capital projects list contained in tab 2, attachments D through G. Approving as item 3, the revised appropriation limit computation method utilizing alternative 2 as presented by the auditor controller. 4, approving fiscal 16-17 revised adopted budget resolution as presented. And lastly, canceling prior year reserves in the amount of $670,495.
So move.
Okay. And you will provide that language to the clerk, right? Okay. I've got a motion by Supervisor Gray. I have a second by Supervisor Royce. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Somebody hold the carpet down while everybody leaves. Okay. Will the clerk please read item 16?
This is consideration of adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C, due to the drought conditions.
Yes,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Ethan Billigmeyer, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. I'm here before you to do a drought update. So just this afternoon, I spoke with Mr. Kosovly, Environmental Health, and we actually have now received, in the last 3 days, we've received 8 new abnormal groundwater intakes, 3 of those of which have confirmed well outages. So we're kind of showing somewhat of an uptick. That's different than what's in your in the memo language. This was information that I just received this afternoon. So we are starting to see somewhat of an increase in our dry well situation out there. I'm not sure if that's something we can rely on seeing more of a trend of, but however, in the last 3 days, we've received 8 new ones. So we will keep our eye out on that, and hopefully that is not a trend that continues. On the Court Stent pipeline update on just want to make sure I've got September 1st, I did attend a meeting with TUD down at Jamestown Elementary School to discuss the pipeline project that is moving forward. They did have information at that meeting for the public to understand about how much money they would need to deposit in order to make that project viable. They are asking for by September 30th, they're asking for a $1,500 deposit for folks that have dry and or confirmed contamination. For folks that do not have dry or confirmed contamination that do still want to connect to the pipeline project, they're looking at probably about a $3,000 to $5,000 deposit from those folks. So what they need in order for the grant, the $1.6 million grant, to be approved in order to move forward the project, basically is what they're calling a good faith deposit from the citizens out there, stating that they will indeed hook up to the pipeline if it's brought down there. So folks have until September 30th to do that. Actually, in kind of a serendipitous good news department, the notification of funding announcement from the Community Development Block Grant for the private lateral grant, that was released actually on August 31st. So we will be working with Terry Cox and TUD staff to get that grant approved, hopefully, so that we can help folks pay for those private laterals, which I think will be a huge benefit. Actually, will almost make the cost almost nothing for them to connect. As an update to information that I provided you last meeting in regards to our water tank situation, after that meeting, Tracy and I did follow up with the state, Cal OES, to find out exactly what can we do with these tanks once they are once we're done using them. We had been under the impression that we were able to leave the tanks there if the resident wanted them, or if not, then we would uninstall them. The tanks actually are property of ATCAR because they are actually the agency that is installing the tanks and then being reimbursed through Cal OES. However, what we found out from Dave Gillings at Cal OES is that in order to leave the tanks at the resident's property, we will have to sell them to the resident. And the issue with that is there's not a sort of baseline cost for what a used potable water tank and used pump would go for. Therefore, they're talking about maybe having to conduct some sort of market survey to find out what the cost of those, what that used equipment would be. The other option would be to have the county to have them uninstalled, stored, and used, recycled basically, so the next person that has a dry well would then use the tank instead of buying a brand new one. The final thing that kind of we're trying to work out is that they were actually basically what they were saying is that in order for the resident to keep the tank would have to be completely disconnected, and then the contractor could hand them over the pump and and all the piping and say if you wanted to reconnect, you'd have to pay somebody to reconnect this, and then you could have this tank. So
the state of California is going to pay somebody to disconnect it so that the resident can pay to reconnect it.
Yes.
Bureaucracy at its finest.
I'm not satisfied with that, so I'm going to be hopefully contacting them and figuring out if we can figure out a way to get around this, because it's really not in anybody's benefit to do that. It doesn't make any sense.
Did you have any discussions with TUD?
I did. TUD does not have the capacity for that, really. It would be really ACAR's decision if they wanted to sell the tanks to TUD for that kind of use.
Okay.
But in terms of what's needed right now, they don't have the use for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions from the board?
Has there been any conversation about when this program might end?
It's been brought up a number of times. The answer that we get from Cal OES is that it's not. There's no word from the governor's office that it's going to be ending anytime soon. It's been, I think, funded through the 16-17 fiscal year. Is that correct? Yeah.
So here's a question I would have.
Yeah.
As the governor decides that it's going to end, and so I'm a property owner with a tank on my property. I choose to do nothing. Okay. What's going to happen to that tank?
Choose to do nothing in that you choose to not.
I look at the state of California and ATCAR, and unfortunately I'm on a board for ATCAR, so I do have a little bit of concern, but I'm not on the ATCAR board, but on ATCA. But my question is I go, okay, state, if you want the tank, come get it. If you don't, leave it there. If you want the pump disconnected, come disconnect it. If you don't, leave it there. What's California going to do?
They would probably come and disconnect it and remove it.
And remove it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah.
It potentially costs the state of California, the taxpayer, more.
Sure, I understand.
Right.
But I mean,
That's exactly.
that, if somebody were to say to me, if you want to keep the tank, it's going to cost you $1,000 or $10,000. I don't know what a tank costs, but it's going to cost you this amount of money. And I go, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm not writing any checks today. You do with it what you want. Then the state's going to have to come in and spend money to take it away.
And there's little market for them, I would guess, because there's 120 of them?
There is over 130 of them. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Brennan. Did I interrupt your?
No, that was one of the questions I had. The other is this piece with these new wells, that are being reported as non-productive. I think we need to be having this conversation with the property owner too, because if we're going to go through installing a tank only to remove it a few months from now, we need to be having that conversation.
Yeah, and I did put out a meeting invite for ATCAR and for our office, because one thing I did update the public about at our meeting was that once they do get connected to the pipeline, deliveries of water will cease. And that's because they now have a permanent potable water source, and so there's no need for an emergency water source via the water delivery truck. So we're going to have non-operable tanks. I wouldn't say soon, but it's coming down the pipeline. That's a bad use of the word. It's coming, whether or not
whether it's down the pipeline or not is a different. Yeah.
Right. So
it's
coming, and so we really do need to make a plan and we need a definite answer on what we can do. So we're working on that.
Okay. Anybody else? Any public comment? So what you're looking for is a resolution to continue the state of emergency.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So move.
Okay, I've got a motion.
Second.
I got a second by Supervisor Brennan by a half a second. Motion by Supervisor Hanvelt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 17,
Please.
consideration of approving correspondence commenting on the Inyo Sequoia Sierra draft forest plan revisions and draft environmental impact statement.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, bringing this matter back to you, despite your request for an extension of time to offer comments on the draft forest revision plans for the Inyo Sequoia National Forest, as well as the draft environmental impact statement. That didn't come at your last board meeting. You did authorize the chair of the Natural Resource Committee to draft and sign comments on behalf of the county, which did occur. The purpose of this item was to provide the board the opportunity to go ahead and sign its own letter and send it as well. And so what you have is essentially a version of the letter that was sent out under Supervisor Brennan's signature. I just passed out it's a one-page thing. On the flip side was some proposed amendments to the language from the chair. So you could either approve the letter as it's contained in the agenda packet or include the adjustments that Chairman Rotifer has offered.
And I'll just say that the reason that I offered the change is because we stated that we wanted to be very explicit about our disappointment in the lack of an approval of an extension that we asked for. So with that, any questions of staff? Public comment? Bring it back to the board.
I'll move approval of the letter.
As amended or
As
not?
amended.
Okay, as amended, okay. Also second? Okay, I've got a motion by Supervisor Brennan and a second by Supervisor Hanvelt. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Item 18.
Consideration of approving responses to the 2015-16 grand jury report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this year's grand jury report was actually kind for the county of Tuolumne. Very few things that we needed to respond to. You can see a list in the memo of the different issues and agencies that had things that the grand jury commented on. As far as the county was concerned, there were some follow-up reports that they were looking for, where they just asked for comments from various county officials. One of the continuity reports had to deal with the district attorney's Carpel case management system, and there's comment letters in here in the packet just for your information from District Attorney Laura Krieg and from Daniel Richardson on behalf of IT. The sheriff also annually he does receive comments, review, and then comments from the grand jury on the county jail, and a copy of the sheriff's response letter is in there for your information as well. The real single item that your board would need to comment on that the grand jury asked for was related to the Community Resource Agency appeal filing fees. That was related to the Dollar General in Columbia, and saying that in the future we need to charge these things basically. Council said that she would help, and that's what the letter from the board, proposed letter from the board says. Yes, we agree with their finding and the recommendation to basically charge those appeal fees. The recommendation has been implemented to the extent that we've agreed that staff will make sure and charge those in the future, but we haven't had a situation like that to actually apply the fee up to this point since the Dollar General. So that's really what the letter says, and it's recommended your board go ahead and adopt that letter.
Okay, any questions of staff? Public comment? Back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the letter to be sent to the grand jury.
Okay. Got a motion by Supervisor Gray, a second by Supervisor Royce. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Item 19.
Consideration of approving correspondence supporting development of a comprehensive funding package for state court construction projects and moving forward with a new Tuolumne County Superior Court project.
Mr. Pedro, is this one yours as well?
Yes, sir.
You're a busy man.
Oh, yeah. So since your last meeting, as we knew, the Judicial Council did meet, the full Judicial Council, and they considered a recommendation from their Courthouse Facilities Advisory Committee and actually adopted those recommendations, which in essence put all courthouse projects, except for those currently under construction, to a halt. It'll bring things to a logical point and then put them on hold, pending funding. So in consultation with the board chair, prepared a letter for your consideration with the emphasis of just seeking the executive, judicial, and legislative branches of state government to work collaboratively together towards a solution to the statewide funding problem. And so it's a short letter to the point, trying to make some points of things that hopefully everyone can agree on. I did attach the Judicial Council's staff report on the matter, which describes the funding problem. The report cites agreement basically with the need for the projects, but also attached information, so they had it in there about our courthouse and courthouses and our need, but kept that part light and really focused on the desire of this board to have those branches of state government work together on a collaborative solution. So, and there's the letter that's offered for your approval. And I will note as I'm looking at this that I did. That's a really bad thing. I spelled the chairman's last name wrong.
That's all right. I caught it already, and Christina is taking care of it for you.
Covered for me. Great.
There you go. Okay, any questions of staff? Public comment? Bring it back to the board. Anybody? Going once?
I'll move that we send the correspondence supporting development of the comprehensive funding package for state court construction projects and moving forward with the new Tuolumne County Superior Court project.
With the corrected
With
signature
the
block.
corrected signature block.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Royce. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like one.
Go ahead.
Craig, explain to me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that the governor had in his budget, I don't know what the final was, but I thought there was money for the Tuolumne court construction.
It is indeed. Our project courthouse was in the state budget, but it's up to the Judicial Council to take action on it, and they found there's not enough money in the kitty to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, the issue is the out-year funding.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. It has to do with debt service and availability of money and all that stuff. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Please read item number 20.
Consideration of approving an agreement with Tuolumne County Utilities District for construction and transfer of water and sewer facilities to service the Law and Justice Center campus.
You ready?
Yes.
Maureen Frank, Deputy County Administrator. Before you is an agreement with TUD, and back in 2011, Tuolumne County entered into such agreement with them to bring utilities to the Law and Justice Center campus. And at that time, the agreement was set for an 18-month period, and we thought that would be fine to get the first facility, the juvenile facility, up and running and set. But due to delays in the state process in reviewing our application and not being able to go forward as we thought way back in 2011, the current agreement with TUD has expired. So before you today for consideration is a new agreement that addresses the remaining portions of the water and sewer improvements for the juvenile facility, the county jail, and the transit center. With this agreement, construction of various lengths of 8-inch, 10-inch, 14-inch diameter water pipelines need to be done. A 4-inch and 6-inch diameter sewer pipeline needs to be done. And then a debris raking system and screening assembly at the sewer pump lift station and related facilities to serve the Justice Center campus will be completed. Upon completion of all of this work, it'll be the facilities will be turned over and maintained in perpetuity by TUD. In your board memo, I listed out the water connection fees, the sewer connection fees there for you. And just to note that the Tuolumne County Transit Agency will be responsible for paying their own connection fees to TUD. The anticipated raking system that's required for both of the two detention facilities will cost $241,418. And if your board approves moving forward with this agreement with TUD, the county would need to pay TUD a total of $349,879 this fiscal year. These funds are contained within your capital budget in the Law and Justice Center line item. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, questions of staff? Public comment? Bring it back to the board. Do I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agreement.
Okay, got a motion by Supervisor Gray,
Second.
second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Item 21. Somehow I don't think you're going anywhere, Mo.
I'm not. The best for last.
Okay, this is consideration of adopting a resolution regarding the award and grant fund and agreement for the 2016 Community Development Grant National Disaster Resiliency Competition for the Community Resilience Center project.
Okay. Again, Maureen Frank, Deputy County Administrator. Man, long wait and coming for this one. In October 2015, the state of California submitted the Community and Watershed Resiliency Program for consideration for the 2016 Community Development Block Grant National Disaster Resiliency Competition, or NDRC as we affectionately call it. It wasn't until June 2nd, 2016, that official notice that spelled out the grant awards and the requirements for the grant was published in the Federal Registry. It was at that time that out of the 56 applicants that had the potential of funding, the state of California was one of 13 that received NDRC grant funds. The state of California received $70,340,770. And in that application, as you remember, there were basically three pillars or three main activities that we want to accomplish in that grant application. The first one was Forest and Watershed Health, and that's the lead agency for that one is Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and they received a little over $28 million. Then there's Community Resiliency Centers, and the lead agency for that is Tuolumne County, so that's the one that we're responsible for carrying out all the tasks to accomplish that goal, and we received a little over $19 million for that one. The third pillar was the Biomass Facility and Wood Projects campus, and Cal EPA is running that, or the lead agency for that pillar, and they received $22 million for that one. Since the award on June 2nd, the county core team for NDRC has been working on both the financial plan, the funding plan and the plan of action. So the funding plan was something that HCD had to put together and submit to HUD, and they did do that, and it was approved. The next document is the action plan, and that's giving HUD kind of a roadmap of all the tasks, all the responsibilities, listing the beneficiaries and the targets, and what do we want to accomplish within each of those three pillars. And that was, I believe, going to be turned in at the end of this week. The state wanted to refine a few things, but they're turning that in. Once that is approved, then the state will turn around and issue agreements for all of its partners. And for Tuolumne County, it's going to be a sub-recipient agreement. And this agreement is exactly the same agreement that we do with all of our community development block grant applications or grants that we received. So with that, in preparation for that, I should say, Housing and Community Development is requesting that the county sign a resolution regarding the execution of all grant agreements for this 2016 Community Development Block Grant National Disaster Resiliency Competition. There's this resolution that's before you for consideration today. It designates the county administrator to sign the grant agreement, any subsequent amendments, the funding requests, and all other required reporting forms. And again, this is exactly the same process and the same format and the same agreement that we do with the regular CDBG program. Once this resolution is signed and the agreement is finalized and signed, which will probably, my guess will be the end of September, beginning of October, that's when the fund begins. So as you know, we have the second pillar for community resiliency centers to be determined by us as a community. Staff, Mo, will start working on what you have in your memo. So we'll look at hiring a architect services to help us through this process. So they'll assist us in the development of a programming document, going out and setting up search criteria for property, looking at each potential site and evaluating it, engaging the community in meetings. What do we want to see in these centers? You know, what kinds of partners do we need to have? What kind of agreements do we need to put in place? How are they going to continue to be operational not only for the first year but ongoing? What other grants do we want to couple with this and get other operational money going through them and making them successful? Once we get the site or sites, we need to do the environmental impact report. We need to either purchase the property or obtain the property if we're successful enough to get land that's donated to us. We need to then get into doing the schematic design and cost estimate for the facility or facilities. Hire a construction management firm to help us with the building of it, do final plans and specifications, hire go out and bid and award the construction contract. And construction, the typical is 12 to 14 months. So this whole process is not overnight. To tell the community, this is going to be a long 3.5 year process that we'll go through to do it. But we're almost there. We're almost ready to get started on it. And I thank you guys for your patience as we go
Almost
through.
there on a 3 to 5 year project.
Almost there to where we as a community get to engage in this process. We've been sitting back and waiting and waiting. It seems like forever. It's hard when staff comes before your board and the community with federal and state money, and it seems it takes forever. And it's not because your staff is sitting on it. It just is.
No, I'm not being critical of you.
No,
Mo.
I know, but for the public to understand that, it's
Yeah.
really.
Bureaucracy at its finest. I
Yeah.
think that's the 4th time I've said that today.
It's frustrating. So I'm here before you in hopes that you will sign the attached resolution that gets this process started. Here to
Okay.
answer any questions.
Questions of Mo? Public comment. Bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, this has been a long time getting here, but I would be happy to make the motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the county administrator to execute a grant agreement for 2016 Community Development Block Grant National Disaster Resiliency Competition for the Community Resiliency Center or Center. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Royce. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Will you please read our 11:30 appointment? It's 11:30 somewhere in the world. Or I'm sorry, 11:15. It's probably 11:15 somewhere in the world. Or close.
This is consideration of authorizing staff to obtain water consultation services.
Okay, Mr. Pedro.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this board has taken a very active role in protecting and promoting water resources in Tuolumne County, and there's been a number of things that have demonstrated that. I'll just hit the first series of bullets because I think it's really important for the public to hear. You've revived the Tuolumne County Water Agency. You've created a Water Policy Advisory Committee. You've adopted the Tuolumne County Water Action Plan. You've hired a natural resource analyst and retained a water council of record. And then there's a number of organizations that we've become engaged with on a regular basis. So your board's clearly taken a step that none of your predecessor boards, have. And your board wanted to take another step and was desirous of supplementing those efforts with procurement of a water consultant. Under those procurement options, we typically, under county ordinance, use a request for proposal for services to secure services or securing products that are heavily service-oriented. And this is totally a services contract, so we would typically use an RFP. However, the ordinance does provide that the purchasing agent may determine that a single source provider or a compatibility requirement exists and exempt the purchase from competitive bid or request for proposals. And in this case, I'm bringing it to the board because the most appropriate way to proceed is not absolutely clear, and I thought this is one I should bring back to your board to weigh in on. Attached, there is a request for proposal that the staff had developed to put out there that listed some basic minimum qualifications. It listed a broad scope of services, which I would imagine would go into any base contract that we'd have, however services are secured. Another avenue that you could go is determining that there's either a single source vendor that we should consider or a compatibility requirement could be cited saying that we should go with a particular vendor. And indeed, while preparing the RFP to secure these services, I again was approached by the board chair to consider contracting with our local water consultant, John Mills, thereby foregoing the RFP process. Also attached to your agenda item is was an unsolicited proposal submitted by Mr. Mills for your board's consideration. I would say that if your board was inclined to go with Mr. Mills rather than issue an RFP, I don't feel that you can view Mr. Mills as a single source provider in the true sense, and that there's a number of water consulting services from throughout the state. And as I was reminded talking with council, that our water attorney actually recommended a number of firms that we could send a proposal to. But if you were inclined to go with Mr. Mills, it'd be more appropriate to find that a compatibility requirement exists, given Mr. Mills' extensive knowledge and experience with Tuolumne County and surrounding area watersheds and systems. And then perhaps for another day, another discussion is, regardless of how we go about securing these services, the scope of work for someone and the costs associated with that work and how you go about making that really clear is always important in a contract. And I could see us coming back at another meeting to have that particular discussion. So today, it really is, does your board want to go ahead and authorize staff to obtain water consultation services through either A, RFP, or B, with Mr. Mills citing the compatibility requirement that I've mentioned in the memo. That's it.
Okay.
I do have a couple questions,
Go ahead.
if I can. In looking at, I wish Mr. Mills was here, because then we could ask some questions and probably not have to prolong this. But one of my concerns in looking at his particular contract that he has proposed was that we're partnering with people. I would really like to know for sure who those people were.
Actually, I can answer that.
Okay, well, let me
Okay.
finish. The other concern is that Mr. Mills was employed by TUD for a number of years. I don't know how many, as a consultant, and what I would be curious to know if that information that he provided TUD would be proprietary, or if it would be information that we would be privy to without having to recreate the whole process. But I don't know exactly what we're going to get for 20. I'm looking at this. I'm still a little confused, about what we're going to get for the $24,597.22 that he proposed in his unsolicited proposal.
Okay. Let me try and answer your questions. Some of, and I would say all of, but I might miss one. Some of the organizations that he's currently advising are Calaveras County Water District, El Dorado County Water Agency, and El Dorado Water and Sanitation District. And there's one other water district in El Dorado County, or in the El Dorado Water Agency, that he's also advising. Those are the ones that I know of. With respect to his TD work, he's already shared a great deal of that with us. So I don't know that there would be any proprietary nature of that. Most of the TUD stuff that he did is on-the-shelf studies that are there and have been made available upon request from us by TUD, but I would not say that there's nothing out there that we couldn't tap into.
I think along with that you mentioned those other districts, I would have the question for him is that would any of these people that he's working with that we partnered with, are we going to be within competition of their Calaveras County as an example? He's going to advise them one way. Is it going to interfere with how he's going to advise us?
There's any time that you would contract with any of these potential water advisors, that they all deal with several different organizations, and there's individual firewall issues that have to be dealt with, and that's more their responsibility, I think, other than we need to make sure that he understands that.
That's what I would want to really make clear.
The advantage that I see with Mr. Mills, predominantly with respect to these other water agencies, is that we have a great deal in common, probably far more in common than we have in competition. They're all foothill water agencies or water districts. And in fact, he's doing a lot of things that we're benefiting from now on their behalf. He's also very involved with both Mountain Counties Water Resource Association and also Association of County Water Agencies, AQUA. And he is very much plugged into some closed discussions that are going on about the future of water and water management and control in the state of California right now that we could really benefit having his presence there on our behalf. So my view is that, and the reason that I brought this is, my view is that we're really looking for a consultant in the broader water policy, the greater water policy arena, an engineering kind of consultant that would deal with, say building a dam or something along those lines. And I think that Mr. Mills is, I won't say uniquely situated to provide that kind of policy consultation, but he certainly is one of a very small number of people that can do that.
Yeah. I think my final concern and question would have to do with we do have Water Council that we've under retainer. I guess it's a retainer that we have with them. And as I recall, they did give us a list of recommendations. Would it be smart for us to look at those other people and to see if I think John Mills is a great guy and a very knowledgeable person, but then I don't know what the other people are, the other players are.
I guess I'm not concerned with John's ability to compete in an open competition. That's not. I wouldn't be concerned with that at all. First of all, because I'm not sure that anyone else is going to come in with a cost-sharing kind of an arrangement. I mean, he would be dealing with 90% of what he does. He'd be dealing with simultaneously on behalf of all his Mountain County water agencies, and we would be paying for 25% of his time or less. I can't remember the percentage, but so I'm not worried about him not coming in competitively. I'm just I'll just leave it at that. Supervisor Handbelt.
Yeah, I just will add to the discussion. In the case of John Mills, he also has the unique experience that he lives here and he understands our water perhaps better than anybody. So I agree. I don't worry about him competing. I lean toward him because of that local knowledge that he has, but I also have some sense that things are moving in the water world at this point, partially from what I've heard from him and partially what I've seen when I've been at Aqua or Mountain Counties. Things are starting to move in the water world at a pace, and we really need somebody, and I'm feeling an urgency associated with this. But if it's your wish to go out for bids, it'll take an RFP. It'll just take us a month or two longer. That's what it'll do.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on right now, and there is some sense in terms of timing of some additional value that having someone in the near term would give us. Also, I honestly don't know of anyone else That's not to say there's nobody, but I don't know of anybody else that could come in and list. Well, I'm not sure he could actually list them because some of them aren't public knowledge, but of all of the connections that he's got and the various working groups and committees that he's participating in, either as a member of it or as a subject matter expert for a member of it. So his connections are fairly exhaustive.
Yeah, I guess just the final question is, can we hire someone without doing this RFP? That'd be for council. I mean, that's just
Well, I think
process.
Mr. Pedro explained it adequately, that you can either do the RFP process or you can do this other sole source / compatibility finding that your board can make if you want to go down that road.
Okay. Well, I'm comfortable that he's certainly compatible, and I think almost uniquely compatible, and I don't know. And again, it's a timing issue for me, but I'll leave it at that. I've said enough. Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, I think that Mr. Mills has tremendous respect amongst this entire board. And what I see with this is actually a leveraging capacity and us getting more for that $25,000. Again, I can't say that without absolute certainty, without going out with an RFP, but this is just an awful lot of work that is being proposed here. And so the other piece would be is the devil is in the details. And so I think it would be really important for us to be able to review a contract and what that would look like.
Sure. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, public comment. I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Hanvelt.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's another savings we get here, and then I'd like to make the motion if we do this sole source with Mr. Mills, and that he already is up to speed on all our local issues, and that saves a lot of time and money. So with that, I'll put the motion on the table and we'll see where it goes. I'll move that we authorize staff to obtain a water consultation services by negotiating an agreement with Mr. John Mills and exempting same from an RFP process, citing compatibility requirement exists given Mr. Mills' extensive knowledge and experience with Tuolumne County and surrounding area watersheds and systems.
Okay, I got a motion.
Mr. Chairman, a substitute motion. I would agree to what Supervisor Hanvelt has moved, but I would like to add into that motion that any direction to Mr. Mills would come from the entire board, not from an individual board member or committee.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. Is that okay? Can we make that amendment an amendment rather than a substituted motion?
That would
okay.
be fine.
And you accept the amendment? You accept the amendment? Okay. I've got a motion by Supervisor Hanvelt as amended by Supervisor Gray and seconded by Supervisor Royce. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Is there any more further business today? I did. Is there any further business before the court today?
Reports, did you want to do that or no? That was the last thing left.
Was that a
22.
rhetorical question?
I'm just asking.
Okay.
You asked.
Okay, no. We're going to dispense with reports unless somebody has a burning need to stay here until 5 o'clock. Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much. Yeah, but it's not to stay here till